Ah. Why am I like this? Hello. I'm I feel awful and terrible and stuff. Well, not well, yeah, I do. But listen. I planned to stream a lot, but like days before this. And I even planned to stream on like Friday and I didn't, because I was doing something else. And then Saturday I already knew I wouldn't be able to. And then and then yesterday I was going to, and then I didn't. Why am I like this? It's not like I don't want to. I do. There's so much stuff I want to do. Like, yeah, you know how long it's been since we've done The Sims? I want to do The Sims. I want to do The Sims again. I want to decorate the house thing. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Hi. Yes, hi. How's it going? like, it's not like I don't want to. I totally want to stream. Like, there's so many things I want to do. Do you know how much I want to decorate the house that we did in The Sims? I want to decorate it. I want to talk random stuff and decorate it. Do you know how much I want to continue Papa's Freezeria so we can get back to where we were? Well, it's gonna take a lot longer than one stream, but you know what? You know what I mean? Come on. I have a hangnail on my finger and it hurts. But anyway, this is just the big apology, partly to myself, partly to you guys, and yes, and I'll still sadly be missing a few days. Like, I'm pretty sure Thursday I might not be able to, and I feel terrible about it. But like, I can't do much if I'm probably not gonna be home. But what I'm thinking is, I'm having a very reckless idea, and I'm not sure whether to suggest it or not yet. I might suggest it tomorrow. I need to think about it. And I wanted to be closer to the day of the reckless idea before I suggest it, so I know 100% that I would be able to do it. But like, part of me thinks it would be fun, and part of me thinks, what are you thinking? But anyway, how's your day been? How's your last couple of days been? I have a couple of things I could talk about, of course, but just, you know, asking kindly. I don't know why I'm getting like cut off on like my words. I'm like, I can't even speak. Anyway, there's a couple things I could talk about. I bought a shirt that I like. I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it. Bought it today, and I also I've been using the same what are they called? Sandals for like a long time. I don't know if it's a year or two. But yeah, because I'm very picky with shoes. And that sounds weird, but I'm very picky with shoes because I get really uncomfortable at the first. And yeah, I've had shoes in the past that I bought and wouldn't be able to wear them because they would hurt my feet. So I'm very picky with shoes. So I need to get very specific types of shoes. So I'm actually sure that I will be able to wear them. So yay, I got to switch sandals because I found some that are similar enough to the ones I had that I know won't bother me, but they're a different model, and I like how these look better. So it's all good. That's kind of boring. I mean, I went to a party, but I don't have much I can say about it. It was just, you know, what you'd expect. I could talk about, what else can I talk about? Like, it feels like a lot has happened, and yet, like, nothing's happened. And I feel like that's my days all the time. Does that make sense? I feel like so much has happened, and yet nothing happens at the same time. Like, nothing really super memorable happens, but a lot has happened at the same time. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Like, right now, thinking about, like, something straight off my head that's, like, an interesting story to tell, I don't really have one. Like, nothing really super mega interesting happens. Apart from, I can complain about the heat. I can complain about the heat for a long time. Oh, my goodness. I don't understand. Oh! Oh! Thank you, Queen, and hello. Like, I'm a little late. I didn't miss anything important. Just me rambling. You're okay. And hi, and thank you, for resubscribing. That's very much appreciated. Oh wait, I think my chat's off. Yeah. Why am I? Yep, it was off. Okay, awesome. I didn't even notice. Joy. Again, I don't have a full interesting story to tell, so I might as well just get pretty much into it in a minute. I'm just gonna try to like ramble a little bit nice, and then we'll probably just hop right into it because I don't have any interesting freaking stories to tell. Nothing ever happens. I left the house on Saturday, left the house today, and that's about it. That's been my day so far. Everything else has been being in my room or this room playing video games, or I actually did sometimes get a little, like, had stuff to do. Like, I left my house for a bit today and yesterday, and then I did leave the house yesterday. Damn, I lied. And then, yeah. I've been acting the past 2 days, and I have a performance at the end of the week, and I'm so tired. First of all, that's really cool, and second of all, I wish you the best in that. Ace, you know what to do. Yes, indeed I do. It is not. Again, this is tradition. Once more. Ali. You're a wonderful human being. You're incredible. You're attractive. You deserve the world. You're a wonderful human being. You're kind. You're incredible. We appreciate your company so much. Our life wouldn't be the same without you. Because you truly stepped into our life in a positive way, and we appreciate you so much. And I couldn't even begin to explain how much I appreciate you, but I tried to anyway, and that's what I'm trying to do now. And I kind of suck at it. You'd think I'd be better at it. Sometimes when it comes like immediate and it's just out of nowhere, sometimes I like get twisted on my words, but you know what I mean. And yes, that's just all to say that you're incredible. We love you, and yeah. Why do I wave my arms so much? I'm like dramatically waving my arm. Well, not dramatically, but I'm just waving my arms a lot. What am I doing? I'm playing a woman named Marie who cheats on her husband with one of his superiors, and then he goes insane and kills her. Sounds fun. I mean, it does. I hope you have fun. I hope you've been having fun practicing, and I hope that you have fun presenting it, and that it goes well. That's what I meant to say. I'm just terrible at saying it, but that's what I meant to say. Anyway, since my entire, leisure time has been spent playing, story-based, mostly dating games, why not continue that and continue the Our Life replay? Life is too short, and sometimes this is the best way to do stuff. So, once again, I am here to give the general warning, even though you probably already know, but it's gonna be a little jumpy, because for some reason it just does that. But I watched it back, and it's not that bad. So it should be okay. Plus, it kind of just goes. I wish I could graph it. But, basically, yeah, it's gonna be a little choppy. It's gonna be a little slow. I'm not gonna be calling out the percentages as much this time. But, just a fair little, you know. Yeah, we're in an understanding that if it starts getting really jumpy and the FPS starts going down for a little while, you know why it is. And it's kind of out of our control at this point. We kind of just have to leave it be. And sometimes and then it resolves itself for a while, and then it hops back in, and it just goes between being great and being eh. So, we cope with it. Yes, and of course, if it gets too bad, let me know, and I'll see what I can do about it, or we evacuate. Either of. We see what happens. Everything's improvised. The magic of improvisation. Let's go. Also, I feel like I think there's a story that's gonna be told to me, so I don't know if to wait for it or start right away. And does Ace know what you did on the day before Friday when I was at the stable, to be precise, on top of a horse? Because if he doesn't, I want to tell her, because it made me really happy. Okay. I didn't tell her. You can tell her if you want. I'm getting a story. I like getting stories. I'm drinking so much water. It should be fine, but oh my god. Right now, I'm, switching between 2 water bottles, so I'm using 2 water bottles at the same time, technically. Because when I'm using one, the other one's in the fridge, getting nice and cold, so that when I'm done with the other one, it'll be nice and perfect to get, yeah, you get what I mean. So when I'm done with one, the other one will be nice and cold at that point. I'm switching between 2 water bottles. It's working. It's fine. This one's nice and cold right now. The condensation's great. It feels really cold. It's wonderful. Send help. Anyway. Hi. Anyway, we can now do stuff. We can now do stuff. So, get ready for the jumping quality. Okay, right now it should be fine because we're going to the moment menu. But okay. How's that? Okay, right now it's totally fine. For the most part. Again, it's gonna be jumpy at times. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, here's the story. Right in time before we start. Yay. Wait, hold on. Let me do this. There we go. So Queen sent me a message and she said she wants to talk and tell me something. And I asked if we could call, and I was scared for life. I was so worried. One, I read the message around 2 hours after she sent it, and I was on top of a horse, and while she said it's not urgent, but I was worried, so I just said it's fine, and then we called. Okay. I need to know now. And this little mushroom had she just showered me with compliments. I was worried sick before the call. We have to admit that's a little funny. And it's so sweet as well. I love that. Well, I'm glad it was nothing to be worried about, and I'm and that's really funny. That's wonderful. Oh, damn it. The power of friendship, just like My Little Pony. Also, horse. Much like My Little Pony. Anyway. So, we left up at Sandcastle. We had a little... We had the sad vibes last time. We're gonna get the sad vibes again. In a minute. But, it'll be fine. When you know, it's a little less worrisome. And it's gonna be a little less worrisome than the first time, hopefully. Because I was just like, probably still gonna be like, but you know, it's fine. So, let's hop right into it and get ready for the drop! Okay, that wasn't that bad. Horsey didn't like standing still. It was really nerve-wracking, but the call was really, really nice. It sounds really, really nice. Sending virtual hugs. Anyway, it's time for me to read without and messing up my words every 2 seconds. Are you ready? Well, not every 2 seconds. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. Let's do it. The water is really helpful in these ones because I just read a lot. I say that, but I talk a lot anyway. I'm stalling. Let's just get into it. It was early, and you were on your way to the playground. Lizzie planned on joining you there later. You weren't sure what she was busy with right now. Older kid stuff, you imagined. That was okay. What was forefront in your mind was if Cobe might be free to come too. Where's the drop? Okay, there it is. As you walked the familiar street, wondering how you might find your neighbor, he appeared right in front of you, almost as if he was a mind reader. Reads. Hi, can you play now?
No.
Let me raise this volume a little bit, and we should be probably good there. Yeah, that should be fine. Hold. If we do this, and do this, and do this, that should be fine. Anyway. No, sorry. Cope looked strangely serious. It had to be an even bigger deal than whatever mystery thing Lizzie had to do. Sad vibes. What's happening in chat? Don't question me having my phone out reading messages while writing out. There's no law against having your phone out behind reins. Just don't have it while driving. At least I think there isn't. Look at the horse, not your phone. Is there laws against... Wait, hold on. Now I need to Google this. Stop. Pause. I need to find out if there's actual laws against this. Or if there's, like, anything that says you shouldn't do it. Hold on. Is it illegal to use your phone while riding a horse? Let's see. Oh, so according to... Okay, so this is from the UK. Apparently, okay, so I could go to different websites. So, the questionsstatementsparliament.uk website says that the government has no current plans to introduce new penalties for cyclists and horse riders using mobile phones while riding. All road users are required to comply with road traffic law in the interest of their own safety and that of other road users. And now I'm going to horselearner.com. Can you use a phone while riding a horse? What you should know. And it says, it is advisable to have a phone on you when you go trail riding, and especially if you go alone. The phone should be kept on your person so that in an event of a fall, you could use it to call it for help. Apart from emergencies, it is not recommended to hold, look at, or use a phone while horseback riding, as it distracts from what you're doing, which can be a safety hazard. So, they tell you not to do it, but it's advisable, but there's nothing saying straight up that you can't. It probably isn't recommended, but you know. There we go. That was a fun little tangent to go on. I just wanted to look up if it was actually like against the law to use your phone while riding a horse. I needed to know this. And only the UK Parliament has a strict not a strict, but like an answer, a direct answer to it. Which I find great. Anyway. Now we may continue. What? Where? He shifted and your gaze was drawn to the backpack slung over his shoulders. Cove liked to stuff things into his pockets from what you've seen, but people sometimes carried bags with them. It hadn't been very attention-worthy until now. The pack was decorated with cartoon waves and dolphins. That's so cute. He gripped one of the straps tightly with his good hand. I just wanted you to know. Cove didn't glance up and meet your eyes. You started to grow worried. I don't get it, but where are you going? Oh, can I go too? I'll come with you. I think, if I remember correctly, I played this last time as Clueless. But let's just pick the last. Who cares? Let's just pick the last one. Who cares? Life's fine. He looked up at that. You hoped he would agree, but instead he shook his head. I'll come back though, sometime. I don't know when, but we can do stuff then. He directed a fragile smile your way. Without another word, Cove turned on his heel and started to walk away. See you when you're done. Wait, you couldn't say anything else then. Wait. Wait, stop. He kept going, his focus wasn't on you anymore. What was that about? You watched as his back grew smaller and smaller, then you realized that you were still standing in the middle of the sidewalk. You thought about your earlier plan of playing at the park. Suddenly, it didn't seem as fun anymore. Not without Cove. But it wasn't like you could have forced him to play with you. He had things to do. Apparently. You went to play at the park, you stayed there. I'm staying here. You could play at the park some other time. It wasn't like it was going anywhere, and you couldn't bring yourself to leave like this. You didn't move from your spot. You just continued to look on quietly. The chat just turned into horse talk, and that's okay. You may continue to talk about horses if you so wish to. I'm like glancing every so often. And just... It's like, I don't feel like I need to say this, but feel free to talk amongst yourselves. Like, that feels like such a teacher thing to say, but like... I feel like I shouldn't even need to say this, but yes, feel free to. You didn't move from your spot, you just continued to look on quietly. It didn't take long to realize that he was just going up the street. You were positive there was nothing good over there. Not the park, or the beach, or the store street, or his house, or anything. You hesitated, unsure if Cove would want to be bothered before running after him anyway. He was new. He might not know what you did. You slowed down once you reached his side. He glanced at you from the corner of his eye and frowned. Go away, Ace. But there's nothing out that way. His mouth twisted further. He didn't appreciate your warning. I'm still going. What are you doing? Walking. Why can't I come with you if you're just walking? Cove let out a deep sigh. You got the feeling that he was starting to get mad at you. I told you, I'm leaving. I'm gonna be gone for a while. You stopped pushing and let him go. I still want to go with you. You can't. Why not? Gove came to a sudden stop. You almost kept walking ahead of him because you weren't expecting it. My dad doesn't know. If you come, you'll get in trouble when he finds out. You felt a knot start to grow in your stomach. You're not supposed to be leaving? His expression was grave. He shook his head. Dad isn't home right now. I left him a letter so he won't get confused when he gets back. Gove's gonna pull out a knife any second. I have a feeling. That would be one twist ending. that would be a very different game. I mean, if they wanted to go with the shock factor, I mean that would definitely work. Violence DLC. But you can't tell anybody about this, okay? You can pretend you never saw me. Okay, bye. I won't tell anyone that you're going. I still want to go. I don't care if I get in trouble. I have to tell someone. You can't come with me. Why? Because you're going to hell. Ching ching. Rip. Why am I finding this so amusing? Anyway. Great game, 10 out of 10. Yes, rated 5 stars. It's wonderful. That would be great. Don't do it all by yourself. Gove's hard expression wavered. You could tell he hadn't expected you to say that.
Really?
You don't think it's a bad idea or something? I do, but... Nope. It's like we're going on an adventure. It's not a big deal, right? We're gonna have fun. I don't know, but you're doing it anyway. I should too. It might be a bad idea, but... It's like, Welcome to I don't know. His lips curved into a smile.
Okay.
You can come. That took very little convincing from my part. Well, it took a little bit. But it was like, I still want to go. And it's like, okay. You grinned, pleased that he gave in so easily. That's what I was just talking about. You thought it might take longer since he was so set on going alone. You turned up in the middle of the sidewalk, and so did Cove when he saw it. You pointed over your shoulder with a thumb. Let's go to my house first. I can get my backpack. We can't. Sorry. Don't I need one? It's not that. I don't want our parents to catch us. Your moms could think it's weird we have bags. They might ask. We don't have a lot of time anyway. He motioned to his backpack, patting it with his hand. Its front bulged out slightly.
It's okay.
Cut me off! Don't worry, I packed snacks. It'll be alright. You wish you could bring your backpack along just to be safe, but his explanation made sense. Okay, yeah, sure. You know what? Yeah, sure. Alright, we can leave. Cove smiled. He seemed to be in much better spirits than when you first ran into him. You were glad. He wasn't always this upbeat. That was fine, though. Otherwise, he wouldn't be Cove, but you liked seeing him smile. Cove took the first step, and you mirrored him. As one, both of you ran up the street. You were off into unknown territory. Sorry. I was gonna do a Disney reference, but I won't. But just by that, you can probably guess what it would have been. But I immediately thought of it and I went, no. Let's maybe not. Let's backtrack on that. Let's backtrack on that train of thought. Anyway, it's fine. You ran through the first few neighborhoods like that, your feet pounding on concrete. Whenever one of you got tired, you'd take a break for a minute. The moment there was a sound, you'd be off again, in case someone you knew might realize what you were up to. Because of how cautious you were, the two of you didn't run into anyone, not even other kids enjoying their summer. It was like you had suddenly become criminals, always worried if someone was on your trail. Maybe we did stab someone! As tense as it was, you were still glad when you got the opportunity to take a proper break. Cove waved for you to stop once you got out of the residential district. The house had disappeared, broad storefronts taking their place. You were all the way in the business part of town. Stabbing DLC. That would be, I mean, different. That would be different to be sure. This was the first time you had come here on foot. Before, one of your moms always drove you to this place in their car. Cove leaned up against a nearby tree and wiped sweat off his forehead. You braced your hands on your knees, breathing hard. You looked over at the road ahead. We're so far. A strange expression flickered across Cove's face at your words. Before he nodded, you spoke again, still huffing. My mom brings me and Lizzie here for shopping. Yeah, I've never been here before. Not without Dad. He looked pleased by that. We're doing good. It's not even nighttime. You're starting to feel good about it too. You're still unsure. Still unsure. You thought it was right to have gone with Cove, but being so far from your neighborhood made you feel even more weird about what was happening. Clearly, Cove wanted to keep going. For how long, though? He couldn't want to keep walking forever. Cove slid his backpack off and unzipped it. You watched curiously as he stuffed a hand in and searched for something. To your delight, he pulled out 2 juice boxes and offered one to you. Here. Thanks, Cove. The two of you took a moment to unwrap the straws and poke them into the special circle part of the box. The juice was warm, but still good. You sighed contentedly after your first sip. Your throat was beginning to ache from how dry it had gotten. It really had been a while since this all started. As you took another sip of your juice, your gaze drifted to Cove's bag. He hadn't closed it yet. What else is in there? There's still a few juice boxes left. He peered inside and began to list off the items as he spotted them. I got some snacks from the kitchen too, chips, muffins, bananas, candy. That was already a lot, but he kept excavating more. I also took a couple clothes, a flashlight, a first aid kit from my dad's bathroom, and a blanket. Oh, and some money my dad gave me a while ago that I hadn't spent yet. Your mouth made a small O halfway through his lengthy list. You brought a lot of stuff. I wouldn't have thought to grab a flashlight or a first aid kit. I told you I was going away. You didn't know what to say to that. The little smile Coke had been wearing earlier was gone by now, like it'd never been there in the first place. You watched as he zipped up his bag and slipped it on. He started walking without a single glance over at you, though he did still take small, unhappy sips of his juice. For some time, the two of you went forward in complete silence. The more ground you covered, the more serious Cove seemed to become. He hadn't looked at you or said anything in a while. He'd just taken your empty juice box from you and stowed it away in his bag. That was it. You knew there had to be more to all of this. The sun dislodged itself from its place in the sky, dipping lower and lower. The street lamps came on. It was as if they were anticipating nightfall. You tried to convince him to go back. You kept walking. Sure. I know this probably won't work, but sure. Hey, Cove. Cove finally turned to look at you. You nearly chickened out, but managed to spit out the words. It's gonna be dark soon. We should head back. To your dismay, he scowled and shook his head immediately. I'm not going back. I can't. But what about your dad? He'll be fine. I left him a letter. If you want to leave, you can. I'm gonna keep going. There was no changing his mind, you realized. He was doing this with or without you. You gave in and kept walking with him. You turned back on your own. Let's just keep going. You wanted to go home, but not without Cove. Leaving him all alone would be much worse. Okay, I'm coming with you. His features softened the slightest by your response. You got the feeling that he was relieved by your decision to stay. The two of you continued to trudge past the storefronts. I love the sunset views. Oh, like the sunset lighting in this game. I don't know why. It's so pretty. Silence fell over you again. You had no idea how to break it, or if you even wanted to. People had said this was a really tiny town, but to you, it felt absolutely gigantic. Eventually, the business part of town ended too. There was no sidewalk anymore, only a long expanse of road. You walked on the grass instead. Not even that was enough to stop him. Onward was the only option. Your journey stubbornly continued. The hunch you had about Cove's possible destination soon became a certainty. There was only one way out of town, after all. Your feet hurt. You were tired. The two of you didn't have any errands with you, but somehow you had reached the very edge of Sunset Bird. That's what the sign told you. You had lived in Sunset Bird forever, and it was a very rare occasion that you'd see this sign. Most everything in your life happened inside the city limits. The endless road ahead seemed scary in a way. It paralyzed you. You glanced at Cove. You had made it here just before nightfall, but now what? Outside of town, there was nothing. How would he get to where he wanted to go? Cove, however, didn't falter. He kept walking. As he neared the sign, he finally stopped. That was a relief. He took up his backpack and sat down, crossing his legs beneath him. You lowered yourself beside the boy as he zipped his bag open and rummaged through it again. Steal a car. Yeah!
Whoa.
What snack do you want? You were almost taken aback by his voice. It had been a while since you had last heard it. Pursing your lips, you recalled the snacks that he'd listed off earlier. I do not have this type of memory. I remember chips. Muffins, I think. And that's about it. I don't know if there was... yeah. Okay, I got those two right, and I couldn't remember candy or banana. But, there we go. Give me chips. Would this be a good time to do another mukbang bit? Because I have chips. Also have candy, technically. I don't have a muffin, and I don't think I have bananas, but I have these two. Our life, crime, and murder. That would be exciting. He pulled out a packet of chips for you and a muffin for him. After passing you your food, he took a big bite out of the top of his muffin. Yes, we need it. It's tradition. Every our live stream, I've just ended up eating something. Why am I considering it? I could do it. But they're so loud. The issue with chips, at least like when we did ice cream, and when I did cookies in the first one, they're silent enough. But chips are so loud. After passing you your food, he took a big bite out of the top of his muffin. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'll be probably around 23 seconds. That was how long I was last time when I got ice cream, and this should be a little faster. So, I'll be right back. Give me 2 seconds. Listen to the lo-fi, okay? I can't believe I'm doing this every time. It's tradition! I'm back. I'm back with chips. It's a new bag as well. It's a new bag. That's it. That's exciting. Now, hold on. Now we gotta, wait. Can it pop? I hope it pops. Okay, that wasn't very satisfying. What kind of chips? These are the ones from the green bag that I talked about before. So I don't know, but they're Lay's. And, hold on. It's chump sound time. Mmm. Those are good. They're like... What the hell? Descubre el sabor. Damn, okay. 100% ingredients of quality, apparently. I don't know how much I trust that, but sure! Who cares? Green bag Lay's, green bag Lay's. We did it! The tradition's been completed. Ace, yes, me. Don't forget to drink. I have water as well. Always. Ah, there we go. Let's keep going. Now that the tradition has been continued, we can keep going. He pulled out a packet of chips for you and a muffin for him. After passing you your food, he took a big bite out of the top of his muffin. You peered over at your friend. He stared at the path still ahead with a solemn expression. You turned away. The sun had set some time after both of you finished eating. Now it was dark, apart from the faint moonlight. You watched this cove grab the flashlight from his bag. What are we gonna do? Sleep out here?
I guess.
Well, if you say so. He was speaking defensively again. Cove flicked the flashlight on. A beam of light cut through the darkness, weakly illuminating the area you sat in. You pulled your knees up to your chest, wrapping your arms around them. You weren't cold. Summer nights were still sort of warm. It's so warm. I can't relate. What do you mean sort of warm? I can't relate. I wish it was only sort of warm at night. Maybe that way it would be easier to fall asleep. It's currently 31 degrees. Life. Pro tip, do not use a razor-sharp knife as a fork. Okay, so I have a question. Why were you using a razor-sharp knife as a fork? I don't think I need to try it to know that I shouldn't use it as a fork. But, I mean, I'm glad you learned that anyway. So, I guess it all worked out? Sure. You just felt like it. Indeed. Can I ask something? Cove's focus didn't waver from the road, but he nodded. Why do you want to leave Sunset Bird so bad? At first, Cove was quiet. You started to think he wouldn't say anything. Then he spoke. My mom called today to check up on me and stuff. She asked what Sunset Bird was like and how I was doing. It was okay. But when I asked if she'll come here, Mom said she couldn't. I can't go back either. Not right now. She has to move to somewhere else first. Cove glared at the ground. His voice cracked as he continued.
It's not fair.
Why can't I even see her anymore? He used his uncasted arm to rub both his eyes. I'm gonna go myself. I don't need anyone to take me. How are you gonna get to your mom's place? That's such a bad idea. This was all just too much, and you started to cry. Did you know the directions to your old house? You're being selfish. Cow? Yeah, I guess. How are you gonna get to your mom's place? He just wanted to see his mom. Maybe you would have had the idea to run away too if you were Cove, but that doesn't mean it'll work. I'll walk there. I brought supplies. Isn't it really far? Cove was silent for a moment. You'd poked a hole in his perfect plan. How long can you go on with a couple chips, some bananas, some candy, muffins, a flashlight, and a first aid kit? Then he shook his head like he was trying to clear it. When he spoke some more, it was mostly to himself. If I don't go see Mom, then she's... Fresh tears glistened in Cove's red-rimmed eyes. He stubbornly tried to blink them away, but they slipped down his cheeks. Your heart twisted in your chest. No matter what, you hated seeing him cry. You nodded for him to continue. Mom doesn't call that much, and I haven't seen her in so long. Cove hiccuped, wiping his face with the back of his arm. His glasses got shoved up awkwardly as a result. If I don't go, she'll be gone. She'll forget about me. She wouldn't do that. How do you know? 'Cause nobody could ever forget you, Cove. His cheeks peaked. I don't know how to read anymore. His cheeks pinkened. There we go. Flustered, he broke eye contact and looked down. Cove sniffled. He seemed conflicted. I'm not sure if that's right. You are a standstill. Everything will be okay if we just go home. We can't stay here forever, and we can't go out there. We've got to go back. Then we'll stay out here. I'm not going back. I'm picking this one, yeah. Cove's brows furrowed, a skull appearing on his lips. He turned away from you. You stared at his back. You couldn't just stop. You didn't know how to convince him, so you kept quiet, staring up at the starry sky. After a few minutes of sullen silence, Cove twisted back around. He wouldn't look you in the eye. Okay, let's go. I don't want you to get in trouble. I don't want something bad to happen. He was doing it for you? That gave you a warm feeling inside, even if you wished he didn't want to leave in the first place. And that was that. Together, you walked away from the exit sign. Your feet hurt a lot by this point, and you were so tired, but you'd convince him. You were bringing Cove home, and that's what mattered. On the long walk back, it was only thanks to the occasional street lamp and faint moonlight that you could see in the dark night. You were content to stick close together. Sometimes your drowsy walking caused one of you to almost bump into the other. The back of your hand brushed his. You held onto Cove's hand. You noticed Cove took hold of your hand. You shook your head to try to waking yourself up. I mean, if you're giving me the opportunity to do so, you're thinking I'm not gonna do it? I mean, come on. If you're gonna give me the opportunity to do something, then I might as well. Now let me mute my mic for 2 seconds while I chomp. Just hold. There we go. You reached out for his hand. It slipped into yours easily. His palm was warm. Cove glanced at you, looking surprised. Then he smiled. His fingers curled around the back of your hand. The two of you continued down the street, hand in hand. You weren't sure how much time passed. I mean, same meaning, different sentence. It's fine. All you knew was that one moment you were fighting the drooping of your eyelids while shuffling near Cove on the sidewalk, and the next you were snapped back to attention by the blaring beep of a horn. Cove froze. You whipped around to see a car approaching you. It was difficult to make out who it was. The headlights were so blinding. And then we get runned over. No, it's... Instead of continuing down the road, the car slowed near where you sat. The window rolled down, revealing the face behind the wheel. It was very familiar. Mom! She shouted back, and not just because there was some distance between you and her. Where have you kids been? I've been looking everywhere for you. I'm sorry, Mom. She stopped looking at you, instead staring hard straight ahead. Both her hands were gripping the wheel. In turn, Cove gripped your hand tighter. This was hard to face. Guilt ate you up from the inside.
All right.
Get in. Let's get you two home. That, at least, made her showing up worth it. Your feet were aching like crazy from all the walking you'd done today. You yanked open the side door, slipped inside the back seat, then clambered over so Cove had enough room to climb in too. He followed in wordlessly, tucking his backpack near his feet. Your mom looked at you and Cove from the rearview mirror. The two of you had us extremely worried. This wasn't a good thing to do. Not at all. Shamefaced, you both nodded as one.
Sorry.
Thank you for saying it out loud. Sorry, Mom. She softened immediately. Not enough to actually let it go, though. You'll have to apologize to everyone else, too. With that, Mom started the car up again and you were off. For the rest of the car ride, no one said anything. You thought all of you were pretty tired. In fact, you must have dozed off at some point because you woke up to the sound of the engine stopping. When you looked around to get a sense of your surroundings, you realized Ko was leaning his head on you. He might have been asleep before this, too. The moment your eyes met, he turned away. We're back. You yawned and got out of the car. Cove came out after, putting his backpack on again. Mom locked the car door and motioned you two towards the house. She opened the front door and let you go in first. Mommy appeared quickly. She must have been waiting nearby. There was a phone in her hand. It worried you, thinking about who she might have been talking to. The tight line of her shoulders relaxed when she saw you and Cove. Thank goodness, you found both of them. Yes, I did. They were walking down the main street together. What were you two doing there this time of night? Do you have any idea how far that is? How unsafe? You peeked at Cove. He still looked exhausted. His eyes were puffy and there were dried tear tracks stuck to his cheeks. I had to see my mom. Ace didn't want me to go alone. Your own moms shared a look. You weren't sure what it meant, but they always did that. You wondered if they could read each other's minds. Maybe they can! Mayhaps they can. No, they just know each other well. Since they were communicating telepathically, you stole a glance around the house. Lizzie wasn't anywhere in sight. Where was she? She must have finished whatever she was doing that morning ages ago. Where's Lizzie? Your sister's in her room, fast asleep, the same way you should have been. She went out earlier to look for the two of you when she accidentally found out you were both missing. She tried to pretend otherwise, but you made her sick with worry. Says she checked all the hiding places she could think of, but couldn't find either of you. You and Cove exchanged remorseful glances at that. Mommy noticed the discomfort.
Okay.
You two must be sleepy. You could sit down wherever you like. Mommy smiled warmly and motioned to the living room. Cove looked up at her, then lumbered over. You followed close behind. The living room wasn't far, or separated by a wall. That open floor plan, baby! My tech problem era. Yes. He wanted to go see his mother. Poor thing.
Well...
That explains it, at least. Still, I'm not sure it excuses it. It was so dangerous to go off into town like that. He's having a hard time right now. You can't expect a child to handle it maturely. True, it can't be helped. But that's enough of that. We should tell Cliff and the others that he's here before the panic gets out of hand. There could be riots.
Is that all right?
I'll call. Then go to the front to tell everyone's still out there. You keep an eye on the kids. Make sure they don't take any more trips today. Got it, hon. Cove just sat there on the couch, setting his backpack down beside him. He stared at his hands. This is so weird. What is? Everyone was looking for me. They all know I tried to leave. I kind of want to run away and not come back this time so I don't have to see them again. Hey, maybe I should try that. That isn't gonna help. They'll forgive you. Please never run away again. That is... it's a toss-up between all of them, but the first one. You just need to talk to them. They'll forget about it. Maybe you're right. When it seemed silence would descend upon the two of you again, the front door opened. Your mom was back with Mr. Holden close behind her. He made a beeline for the couch, his gaze trained on his son.
Cove?
God, are you all right? Strands of his hair had fallen out of his ponytail. His eyes were darkened like he'd been crying too. Cove stared up at his dad, his own eyes wide being behind the frames of his glasses. He really hadn't expected it to be such a big deal. I'm okay. Good, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. He clasped a hand on his son's shoulder, attempting a smile, but the corners of his lips twitched and spasmed, as if they wanted to wilt into a frown instead. Cove seemed to have that effect on him. Mr. Holden turned to you, still smiling weakly. I'm so happy you're alright too, Ace. Then he looked at your mom's. Thanks for your help, as always. He laughed pitifully.
I'm sorry.
And I'm very sorry for ruining your afternoon with this. I can't apologize enough.
It's okay.
It was no trouble, Cliff, really. It couldn't be helped in a way. Something was bound to happen sometime. Besides, he wasn't the only one who decided it was a good idea to disappear today. Exactly. We're just happy the kids are safe and sound. Not for the first time that day, you recalled your original meeting with Cove. He had run away then, too, only not as far as he had today. Cove must have had a similar thought because he mumbled an apology. Sorry, Dad. I won't leave anymore. Promise. Some life seemed to return to Mr. Holden thanks to his promise. This time around, his smile was more genuine.
I'm so glad.
That's a relief to hear. Next time you feel like running off, come to me first, okay? We can talk about it. I'm here for you. Cove nodded. His dad reached out and, mused his hair playfully. Although he made a face, Cove didn't try to dodge the hand as he usually did. Let's go home, bud. I bet you're as tired as I am. Mr. Holden took over carrying Cove's backpack, still clasping a free hand on his son's shoulder when he stood up from the couch. The five of you walked over to the front door, so you could see them off. Mr. Holden thanked your moms profusely at least 3 more times before he walked out the door. Cove was made to follow. Buddy stopped and turned to you before stepping through the threshold.
Thanks.
You're welcome. A tiny smile flitted across his lips, there and then gone. The smile on my face is unreal. That's why I went so silent. Sorry. Before he was gone, you reached over to give him a hug goodbye after a hard day. He held you back more tightly than you could have anticipated, and you almost squeaked out a noise. I'm glad you're here. His embrace was tight, but brief. He let go as soon as he said what he wanted to. And with that, Cove left. Mommy closed the door behind them. You were practically dead on your feet at that point. Your fatigue must have been obvious because your mom sent you right to bed with no more discussion on what happened that day. Once your head hit the pillow, your eyes slipped closed on their own. Your eyelids were so heavy you couldn't open them again until the next morning. You woke up much more at ease than you had felt when you were last conscious. It was almost like it was a dream. But it definitely wasn't. Your mom's faces when you saw them assured that. After breakfast, you were sat down and your family went over yesterday's events in full. They were none too pleased that you joined Cove despite knowing that he wanted to leave. As punishment, your moms took away your TV privileges for the next few days. Lizzie was annoyed that she couldn't watch her shows with you around, but she adjusted. Whenever you expressed disappointment, your moms reminded you that they weren't punishing you for no reason. It was dangerous to go out on your own so late, and without telling anyone. You could have gotten hurt, or worse. As upset as you were, you understood. Mr. Holden talked to Cove about what happened too. You didn't know what was said exactly, but Mr. Holden forgave Cove immediately. He didn't do anything to punish Cove for running away. He blamed no one but himself for Cove's desire to leave home. Which is so sad of a sentence, though. You caught your moms discussing it once in hushed tones, frowning at each other. It was pretty serious. There was a word used you hadn't heard before. Self-flagellation. Flagellation! I swear I know how to speak English. But there wasn't anything they could do to change Mr. Holden's mind. Your neighbors stopped you and Cove often for the next weeks or so to express their concerns and disapproval of the event. Still, as they always did, days continued to pass, so did talk about Cove running away. Things eventually returned to normal as they had to. Summer kept going, and you kept having experiences you shared with Cove. And now the Sag times are over, because now we're going to Fireflies, and I love cold while I chump. There we go. Anyway, this is it. I'm excited. I'm happy. Here we go. Here we go. Let's just get right into it.
Right.
Oh God, I was. That caught me by surprise. I'm not gonna lie. No need to scream in my ear. Tonight we're gonna catch fireflies. At this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. That sounds good. I want mac and cheese. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, you are you? Yeah, you started eating faster, you looked over at your mom's, you pushed your food around your plate. Yeah. You rocked lightly from side to side in your seat, already excited for your after-dinner activity. Catching fireflies was a great way to spend a summer evening, and you could already envision the little lightning bugs drifting through the darkened sky. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we Mrs. Mixelis? There we go. Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally, she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know she'd be late. You didn't hear why, probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying at home watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree.
Well,
It's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for their response.
there.
Let them go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph, but waited until you finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full.
Fine.
Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay?
Duh.
Duh, Mom, that's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories Mommy read sometimes. All too quickly, it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right, if someone died, we'd have to cancel the firefly trip after all. That's one way to put it. Mom said it like a joke, but you knew they were both telling you kids to slow down. Shiloh did immediately. When you glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth?
Jeez.
No one's gonna die. Sheesh. A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could no doubt scold your sister. I'll get it! Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was.
Huh?
You shifted in your seat to try to get a glimpse of the unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Cove. Your mommy had already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's floppy hat.
How are you?
What are you doing here, honey? Being patient and waiting to find out the reason for Cove's visit was difficult. You briefly considered leaving your chair, but when you looked up, there was a small smile on Cove's face directed at you. If you try to get down with him watching, you'd trip for sure, or do something else embarrassing. So you decided to just stay put and smile back. Then, for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off, because I guess he borrowed it from you? Cove took his familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket. Eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great, thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged, and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know you got here all right. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him.
Hi.
Hi, Cove. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding up his hands and opening and closing his fingers. What? Me doing it in real life to get an idea of what's happening. I'm just mimicking that. Cove nodded in response. Cove, are you going to catch fireflies with us? You could come outside with us if you want to. You weren't sure what to say now. Ask him to go catch fireflies! Yay! You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. You bit down on your lips shyly, hoping Cove would say yes, but not wanting to provoke Lizzie any further.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. I've never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been anywhere he used to live. There we go. We can't go until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Hold on, give me just a second. I'm just doing something for scientific reasons. Well, not really, but there we go. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you could stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
This will be so nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Charlotte trailed so closely after Lizzie was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. You smiled lightly at Cove, gesturing for him to follow. After a moment, he did.
Bye.
Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get further and further away.
Hurry up!
You're so slow, Ace. We don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. Are you not gonna come? You talked him along, you walked with him, you waved at him to hurry, and off. Let's... Yeah, I'm feeling tugging along. Let's do that. Sure, why not? It was a little scary to do this, but you didn't want him to get left behind. You reached out for the arm that wasn't in a cast, and you took hold of his wrist and started to pull him along. Cove twisted his arm a bit before settling down. You smiled, watching Cove return it with a shy one of his own. Then the both of you followed after Lizzie and Shiloh. So pretty! Ah! When you arrived at the hill, Lizzie was already standing on top. The fireflies were out in full force, floating on the breeze, their gentle glow winking in and out and creating an almost magical effect. He looked at Cove, and he seemed just as entranced by the beautiful sight. You and Cove stood at the start, linked together. It It was almost like holding hands, but not quite. It was a bit too bad somehow. Realizing there wasn't actually any need to continue gripping his arm anymore, you released it.
Wow.
This is so sweet. Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. Hi guys, it's really great. Ow, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea-greened head. Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You and Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You quietly looked on. You shooed the bug away. Why did I struggle so much with that? Let's giggle. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What?
Oh.
Oh, look! Lizzie has one. That's amazing! Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozen of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. You had a bandage on your thumb and you tried to be cautious of that. You had a bandage on your palm and you tried to be cautious of that. You had 2 bandages on your hand and you tried to be cautious of that. You were good at not getting cuts or scratches, so you weren't too worried about that. Let's have a bandage on the thumb. Why not? Spotting one close by, you approached it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Coke kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly. Coke watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You encouraged him to try again. You told him about the firefly you had. You made a joke about what happened. You did your own things. You encouraged him to try again. You walked up beside him and gave him an encouraging smile. Did you catch one? You nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for the moment, coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand, and he leaned closer, eyes widening a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers slightly over top of one of the ones you were holding open. It tingled. You stayed very still. You pulled your hands out. Stayed very still. You were so nervous you thought you stopped breathing, but no matter what you did, you didn't want to scare the shiny treasure. This is so sweet. This is so sweet. Ah! The firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked. Yeah, you got one. Cove's lips turned up into a slow smile and his eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Ace. Your eyes and his locked together while still holding hands. He suddenly pulled away. Startled by the extreme movement, the little light disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone.
Sorry.
You scolded him, you forgave him, you teared up. That's okay, I couldn't keep it forever.
You're right.
Bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. You decided to collect more, you decided to sit in the grass and watch. More fireflies! We can work together. His face broke out into a wide grin. Look at a bunch. With renewed vigor, you ran out into the hill. You're not sure how much time passed while you were in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first, you tried to keep a tally of how many you had caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. You were having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background.
Ace!
This way! I always forget the name thing, and then it happens, and then I get really, really freaking happy about it. Joy. I forget I have it, and then it happens, and then I just greatest thing. He followed the sound of Cove's voice to the top of the hill, watching as he stretched his arms in front of him, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Cove and you took turns trying to scare fireflies in the direction of the other. You showed him some techniques that you had learned, like how to cup your hands correctly, and he listened attentively before trying for himself. There were a few times when you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove to the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. It was an overall huge success with the both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out and your energy started to lapse. You decided it was time to call off the hunt. Cove didn't complain. He breathed in heavily and his face seemed really flushed. That was fun. A lot of fun. You smiled at him broadly, happy that he had enjoyed the activity. Yeah, it was.
Come on!
Ace, Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race. The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie or Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing on top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning to you with quick hand gestures. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye, you saw Cove was coming as well. He didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi.
Cove.
You can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way tonight. What? Yeah, you'll watch and see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
I guess.
The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee, but it was already decided. You got into position for the race. I'll stay with Cove. I'm gonna do something else. Favoritism exists.
Really?
Why? You don't have to. It's okay. I want to watch. You moved beside him on the top of the hill, even though Lizzie eyed you and made a face. That's not how races work. We only need one referee. Shrugging your shoulders, you refused to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Fine, I'll be the winner whether you join or not. Lizzie moved to lay down, and Shiloh did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side to get a better vantage point, and you stood next to him. Countdown! Cove stood up a little straighter. It seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duties seriously. 3, 2, 1, go! Lizzie and Shiloh took off, letting gravity do the work, and rolling at high speeds towards the bottom of the hill. You and Cove leaned forward to watch them go, eyes peeled for which of the two would reach the bottom first. They were both neck and neck, until about halfway down the hill, Lizzie started to veer off to the side, giving Shiloh a huge advantage. She obviously hadn't noticed a thing, and as soon as Shiloh reached the bottom of the hill, he jumped up excitedly and threw his hands in the air. I won! Almost immediately, he fell back into the grass, still dizzy from his roll down the hill. Lizzie stumped out of the bush she had ended up in, spluttering angrily and brushing leaves from the front of her dress. Not bad. You got lucky. Let's do it again and see who wins for real. Kids, it's time to come in.
Ugh.
No. You snickered, feeling grateful you hadn't been a part of the mini debacle. You caught Cove's eyes and saw that he was doing the same. It had gotten late and was beginning to feel just a bit chilly as you made your way out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together side by side down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove that they were the ones who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you all had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's faces, you did. I love that one so much! No, we're doing sleepover, but now, since we're between, it's another moment for me to munch. It's munch time. Cold. Munch. I'm done munching. Oh, I love this game so much. After like 3 streams, we're actually gonna finish step 1 today. Yeah, success!
Okay.
Sleepover time it is. Alright kids, we're done with dinner. Come to the table. Your stomach grumbled, right on time, as if it had heard your mom's words. You halted your game and looked over. Mom was almost done setting the table. She was walking around the mahogany wood in the process of putting down cutlery. With our green chairs. That I think actually look great. This open floor plan's awesome. Though I don't know how to feel about this table. That's the one thing about aggregation that I can't, that I don't know if I can, I don't know if I would have put it somewhere else. But I like it. Mom was still in the kitchen, humming under her breath as she turned off the stove and put empty pots in the sink to wash. From beside you, Lizzie stirred, uncrossing her legs and standing up. She stretched her arms above her head. Finally, I'm ready to eat. Then she cast a sly glance in your direction. You recognize that look. Last one to the table is a rotten egg. I haven't, but it was too late. Lizzie had already bolted towards the kitchen. You tried to catch up to her. You stayed sitting. You yelled out to her. You threw a cushion at her. You yelled out. You didn't plan on running after her at all. She had an unfair head start. That's not a real race. She paid you no mind. Her head was firmly in the game. It was a short distance to the kitchen table. Lizzie managed to get there easily enough, slapping a hand over the wood. Mom moved just before Lizzie could bump into her. With an exasperated sigh, she resumed her work. I can just picture the... I would again. You didn't win because you were racing by yourself because you cheated. Okay, you won. You didn't bother trying to talk to her about that. Listen, I want to be petty. You didn't win because you were racing by yourself. No, I told you we were both racing. You're just so slow. I wasn't racing, and you know it. That sounds like something a rotten egg would say. Lizzie grinned, her hands on her hips, then looked over your shoulder. Cove, you could be the tiebreaker. Was that a real race that I totally won? You blinked. You hadn't noticed that he had been doing what he had been doing during this little event, which wasn't much. You spotted Cove still on the floor. His legs were crossed beneath him, the arm with the cast resting in his lap. He looked at the two of you with a slight frown. It felt sort of strange to see him still here so late. Tonight, Cove had come to your house for a sleepover. Your moms and his dad had planned it a few days ago. You weren't surprised. You had begged your moms to invite Cove over one day. You were excited when your moms told you their idea. He was going to stay over. You had been so nervous from the moment you found out. Okay, no, the first one. They promised that they would. Now that they had made good on their word, he looked forward to it since the moment you found out. And you even helped Mom search the storage room for a sleeping bag and extra bedding to prepare for his visit. Kurt pursed his lips at Lizzie's question, but he didn't respond. Maybe he was planning on ignoring her. Not that Lizzie would make it easy. This wasn't the first time she had asked him to be a referee for one of her sudden races.
Come on.
Well, did I win or what?
No.
What? I don't think you won. How come? It's not my fault Ace is slow. Cheating's cheating, and cheaters never win.
You always pick their side.
Favoritism. Cove snuck a shy peek at you before answering her. I pick them, and they pick me. You're a couple of rotten eggs, then. That's enough. Nobody here is a loser or a rotten egg. You're each farm fresh. Which is a sentence I never thought I'd say. Ace, is Queen cute? Like slash P for you, obviously. Yes, Queen is very cute. I've been sneaking glances at whatever's been going on. It's amusing, I will say that. I just haven't mentioned it as thus far, but yeah. Yeah. The chip I was holding fell out of my hand. That's not fair. Anyway,
All right.
now listen to Mom and come sit at the table for dinner, all three of you. You and Lizzie obeyed, sitting across from each other at the edge of this table. Lizzie blew a raspberry at you when Mom turned her back. Your parents brought the last of the food, then they took seats further down the table instead of sitting right next to you and Lizzie. Only Cope was left out. He had stood up from his spot on the floor, but he hadn't made a move towards the kitchen. Cove, you can sit too. Slowly, he aired the 4 seats that were left. Thanks to the new seating arrangement your parents chose, one free chair was beside you, another next to Lizzie, and the last 2 were on the other side where your moms were sitting. I don't want to be too pushy. So, I'm just gonna pick middle. Cove's gaze met your brown eyes. Briefly, he grinned back. He walked over, pulled out the chair next to yours, and sat down. You were glad he wanted to sit with you. You just needed to know it was okay. TikTok POV. You're ace streaming while your mod and online sibling have a romantic, slightly spicy debate in chat. Pretty much, yep. It's wonderful. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Now that everyone was situated, Mommy began to pass out plates.
Okay.
Dig in, kids. I cooked a little bit of everything for dinner tonight. Be sure not to avoid all of the veggies.
Ugh.
I can't remember. Is this another one of the situations where I could just pick everything? Yes, Mom. Each person at the table served themselves, except for one. Cove hesitated again. He fidgeted with his hands clamped on the top of his knees. He didn't seem very comfortable doing stuff in someone else's house. One dish seemed to have his eye, at least. That's pineapple chicken. Want to try some? Not really. Sorry. By then, your moms had noted that Cove still had nothing on his plate as well. Do you not like any other food, honey?
Well,
Maybe he hasn't tried Hawaiian food before. He hasn't? Wow. Please don't talk with your mouth full, Lizzie. Lizzie swallowed the bite she was eating, then she spoke again. He should try it now. She turned to Cove dramatically. Unless you want to shrink, that's what happens if you miss a meal. Elizabeth, that's not true. You know that. Cove squirmed under all the attention. He fidgeted with a fork between his fingers. I've had some things, just not any of this.
Oh, shoot.
I knew I should have asked your dad what your favorite foods were. It's alright, Lonnie. Maybe he'll find a new favorite today. You weren't so sure about that. Cove didn't look like he was going to be trying the food anytime soon. Hey, let your moms handle this. I think you would like the pineapple chicken. It's yummy. Give me your plate. You should try something new. This is so hypocritical of IRL me when I'm the pickiest eater upon planet Earth. But, that's what the video games are for. Woohoo! He ultimately trusted your judgment. At your suggestion, Cove carefully spooned rice and chicken onto the plate. You saw that he took more of the grilled pineapple than any of the vegetables. You nodded, pleased, and your moms let it slide. At first, Cove poked at the food. Clearly, he was apprehensive to eat something new, but he took a few exploratory bites.
right?
It's good, huh? Isn't it? You don't have to keep asking. He still speared more meat with his fork and ate it, chewing thoughtfully. It's not bad. Mommy grinned at his words, satisfied it, even though it wasn't exactly a glowing commendation. Lizzie wasn't as mollified. You're so weird. Don't be mean to your friend. We're not friends.
Oh.
Mommy floundered in the face of Cove's blunt honesty. You weren't surprised by Cove's declaration, but you did feel a little bad for Lizzie. She wasn't easy to get along with all the time, though Cove didn't make much of an effort either. You hoped Cove thought of you as a friend. The two of you were friends, right? You wondered how he felt about you. That still made you nervous about your own relationship with him. At least the two of you were definitely friends. First one. You hoped he thought of you as a friend. Oh, new sibling similarity achieved. Ace and Allie are both picky eaters. Write it down, When you gave Cove a look, he returned a small smile, and that made you feel good, even though you were still unsure. Your mommy looked at and only got a shrug.
No.
Elizabeth, don't call someone weird. There's no such thing as a weird person and a non-weird person. There's just different perspectives. Well spoke, Mom. It's not a nice thing to say to someone. Anyone. But Pam. Mommy tried to whisper exclusively to Mom. Her attempt to make it audible over the sounds of clanking silverware meant you cut the quiet words anyway. They're not friends. He said so. As parents, we can only try, and sometimes we fail. Not all kids will be thick as thieves. Now less talking and more eating, kids. You need to clean up and start winding down for bed soon. But Mom! No buts. We've talked about this. Your bedtime will be moved back in a few years. For now, you don't get to stay up late. Lizzie sulked, muttering under her breath about how it wasn't right. You laughed at Mom's phrasing, you groaned about it as well. You stayed quiet and finished your meal. Who cares? When I was 8, I slept early anyway. So, I don't think I minded. So, I'm just going with that. It was good food, and you were pretty content to just keep eating. That's the idea. Good job, Ace. Everyone else get to it. The rest of the dinner passed by uneventfully. Coop was silent for most of it, even when you nudged him and tried to get him to talk. All too soon, the table was cleared, the games of the living room were put away, and you were all steered to your bedrooms. Mom finished tucking you in and kissed your brow just as Mommy poked her head in the room. All ready for lights off, you two? You were lying comfortably in your bed, the blanket hiked up under your armpits. You could kick it off later if it got too hot. I'm jealous of the idea of it being summer and being able to use a blanket. I am so envious. Mom had set up the sleeping bag on the floor for Cove, just beside your bed. He had already wiggled inside. I think so.
Good night.
Perfect. I'll go say goodnight to Lizzie then. Mom tweaked your nose, chuckled when you squawked in annoyance, and left. Mommy took her place sitting on the edge of her bed.
Sweet dreams.
She pressed a soft kiss on your forehead. You giggled as strands of her hair fell forward and tickled you. Mommy smiled down affectionately at you, then moved her attention to Cove, who watched from the spot on the floor. Do you need anything before falling asleep, honey? What does your dad do? Sometimes he picks me up and lifts me really high, and he shakes his hands like he's gonna let go, but he catches me again. He keeps doing that until sometimes he does drop me on my bed, or other times he lowers me down and we pretend like I'm crashing. Ko had become pretty excited when talking about the nightly ritual he and his dad shared. He seemed to realize how animated he was and bashfully quieted. But I don't want to do that here.
Aww.
How fun! Though I think you're right that it might not be a good idea to do that tonight. The sleeping bag might not be a soft enough landing. If there's anything else, you can always ask me or Ace's other mom. But I'm the nicer one. Just don't tell her that. She laughed good-naturedly and stood up.
Take care.
Sleep well, Cove. Night. Leaning against the door jamb, she rested a hand on the light switch and looked to you. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. With a last smile, Mommy turned off the lights and stepped out, closing the bedroom door behind her. You listened to her footsteps fade as she walked down the hallway. You closed your eyes tightly, not wanting to think of Cove on the floor nearby. Having to awkwardly lay there in silence while he did the same felt so strange. You were happy that Cove was spending the night, but you couldn't shake the conversation from earlier at the dinner table. Cove had said that he and Lizzie weren't friends, but that wasn't the part that was bothering you. You couldn't stop from wondering what he really thought about you. Would I ask IRL? Probably not. But that's what video games are for! Ah! Drop my mic. Hey, Cove? Yeah? Are we, screw up. Remind me tomorrow about the updates available. Are we friends? Cove didn't speak for a few moments, and you wondered if you'd startled him with the question. The longer the silence stretched, the more uneasy you felt about his impending answer. When you heard his voice next, it was almost so quiet you had to strain your ears to catch the words. Do you think we're friends, Ace? You wrinkled your nose at the question being redirected back at you. The way Cove had asked it made you think that maybe he hadn't even questioned it before, and now more than ever you wondered if you should have kept quiet instead. Yeah, we're friends. We're best friends. I don't know. Not really. You decide. We're extra special friends. I want to be... part of me wants to just go, like, full front and pick this or this. I like, just go full for it. Just... And you know what? I'm gonna do it! Let's not live in fear! Go didn't answer straight away, and your heart sank, thinking he didn't feel the same. Or maybe he fell asleep, although when you listened hard enough, you could hear the sounds of his sleeping bag like he was wriggling the fabric between his hands. He let out a shaky little breath before he spoke. Yeah, that makes sense. I haven't had one before, so I guess that's what it feels like. It's different than friends. We're best friends. He smiled at the answer, pleased that he felt the same way, and agreed that best friends does make more sense than just normal friends. Success! You started when Cove sighed deeply. You turned your head to look in his direction. In the dark, you could only see a faint outline of a lump under the covers. Cove? What's wrong? What was that? Could you be less loud? Could you be quieter? Please stop that. What's wrong? I can't sleep. Why not? He shifted, or at least you thought he did. You couldn't see anything since your eyes were still adjusting to the dark, but you heard his sleeping bag rustle. I want to be in my bed. Oh. Cove sat up. Your eyes had gotten used to the low light level, so you could see him better. He got out of the sleeping bag, wobbled towards your side table, and pulled open the top drawer. What is it? I'm getting my glasses. You sat up too, watching as he reached inside. He paused for a second, then pulled his hand out. Instead of his glasses, though, he was holding a book. How do you confuse glasses with a book? Cove turned it around in his hands, trying to figure out the proper orientation for it. You knew even without reading the title which one it was. That was one of your mom's that was one your moms would read to you. I thought it's gonna be like fine. It was special. Be careful, that's mine. I thought you were looking for your glasses. What are you doing with that? I thought you were looking for your glasses. I was. Then I felt this. It looks cool. Okay, that makes more sense. The compliment I had afforded your special book had you grinning, your confusion forgotten. It is really cool.
Oh?
What is it about? It's a story about Squire who wants to become a knight, and there's magic. Does it have mermaids? No, but I love the main character because his art is really brave and funny. He has cool pictures. Some of them even take up the whole page. Mommy reads it to me. She uses different voices for every character. There's a dragon in it, and crazy things happen. First one. But they're stuck working for this knight who's rude to them. Nobody believes they can be a knight, but that doesn't stop the squire, so they go on an adventure to show the king they're worthy. You only realize afterwards that you spoke more strongly than you had meant to. Your cheeks burned. This must have been how Cove felt earlier. Thankfully, Cove didn't seem annoyed. In fact, if you didn't know any better, it seemed like he liked the explanation. Cove looked excited by your words. He flipped the book over and focused on the backside summary. His interest in it was only spurring your own. You were reminded of the hours you'd spent hearing the tales. No matter how many times you read it or had it read to you, you were still entertained by the story and pictures inside. He glanced out the window. The moon was high in the sky. It was definitely the time when you were supposed to be asleep. You couldn't keep staying up. You wanted to read the book of code. Read the book! Who needs sleep schedule? You climbed out of bed and padded over over to your side table. You opened it and rummaged around, pushing aside stuffed toys and crayons. Cove called out to you in a confused whisper. What are you doing? Getting something we need. You let out a quiet cry of victory when you found what you were looking for. You jumped back onto the bed before any hidden boogeyman would catch you unaware. Cove continued to watch as you wiggled your way beneath the blanket you discarded earlier. You pulled it up over your head. You have to come here. Bring the book too. After a minute, the bed dipped as Cove got on it. Then the blanket shifted. You fiddled with the flashlight in your grip, feeling for the switch. With a click, the small space flooded with a bright light. Cove sputtered, putting a hand up to shield himself from the beam. Move it somewhere else! Sorry! You hurriedly tilted the flashlight so it was shining down at the floor of your blanket cave and away from Cove's sensitive eyes. Now we can read, and my moms won't know. I'd probably do this. Yeah. I don't stay up for too long because Mom and Mommy check on me sometimes. I haven't been caught yet. Do you want to try? Cove nodded. Pleased by his straightforward response, he placed the book between you and flipped it open to the first page. This is so sweet! I love this! Meanwhile, he lay down on his belly and shuffled closer, picking up the flashlight to shine it on the pages. His face was illuminated with a warm glow. You mirrored his position, leaning in so you could see the book better. Your foreheads nearly brushed until you shuffled back a comfortable distance. You wanted the story to be narrated. You thought it was best to take turns reading the book silently. You flipped through the pages to show Cove the cool pictures. Narration. You loved it when Mommy read it to you. Why not read as loud as you dared this time of night? Though you felt a little embarrassed, your excitement over introducing another person to the special story won out. You didn't even need to study the page for long. Narration time. Just in case you aren't sick of my voice just yet. There was once a squire who dreamed of knighthood. All they wanted was to do good. Cove was taken aback when you began to recite the words by heart. You even pronounced knighthood properly, a word which had given you grief in the past. His reaction encouraged you to keep going. Soon, you got into the exciting part. The Squire and the dragon's first meeting. The Squire walked up to the fearsome dragon, their borrowed sword in one hand and a torch in the other. Her red scales danced in the light like flickering flames. Could you say the dragon's lines? Do you need to get your glasses? No, my head hurts if I don't wear glasses for a while. Relatable. I can kind of see things alright, but I don't know any voices. That's okay. It's fun anyway. Let me just... Cove read the page, his mouth moving silently with the words. Eventually, he nodded to himself and spoke them out loud. Who goes there? Roared the dragon. Who dares enter my cave? It was your turn. You went into the Squire's famous speech. The next time you looked up from the page, your gaze landed right on Cove. His eyes were following the text, a soft smile lighting up his features. A lock of his thick hair fell into his field of vision, but he gave it no notice. He was lost in the story. You started when Cove caught you watching him. He raised a questioning eyebrow. What? Nothing. Cove shot you a strange look, but he went back to the book. You did too, even as your eyelids started to droop. When your eyes opened again, your bedroom was pitch black and silent. Your head was smushed in your pillow, your pajamas were sticking to you, and your mouth was dry. Slowly, you raised yourself onto your elbows. You yawned, the back of your throat twinging as you did so. You rolled onto your side to sit up in bed, planning on getting water from the kitchen, when you saw a dark shape towering above you. Don't you keep a water bottle on your bedside table? I'm sorry, this is not universal. You froze, then you remember you weren't alone in your room tonight. Cove? That you? Yeah. Okay. You shifted and felt something cylindrical pressed against your thigh. You fumbled for it. The familiar weight of the flashlight pressed into your palm. You turned it on. Cole blinked at you, looking exhausted. He was in his normal clothes again, shoes and everything. His pajama pants were left on the floor, abandoned. His sleeping bag was in a similar state. What is it? Can't sleep. I keep waking up. Did you have a bad dream? He shook his head from side to side. No, just can't sleep. It's weird here. You frowned. You'd helped your mom's redecorate it only a few months back. I like my room. It's not that it's bad, I just always sleep in my bed, in my room. That made things a little clearer. It wasn't anything that you'd done. Cove couldn't sleep in a new place. He wondered how long it took for Cove's bedroom in his new house to not be weird for him. Probably a while. I'm gonna go. What? That shook off the last of your doziness. He was going to walk outside back to his own house? This time of night? All by himself? He noted your shocked expression and looked at you with resolve. My dad will let me in, and I've gone outside late before, and I have to go. Well, if you have to, you don't have to. I'll come with you. I should tell my moms. I'll come with you.
Why?
I can get there myself, and then you'd have to go all the way back here from my house. I want us to stay together more. I think I should come anyway. I've got to make sure nothing happens to you. The first one is the actual reason. And then the other two are, like, what should be the reason. They're also the reason, but the first one's definitely an important factor here for me. Well, I did say I wasn't going to live in fear. No regrets! Ghost stared at you for a long time. You cocked your head, confused. What? He didn't answer your question. Instead, he broke eye contact, busying himself with picking up his pajamas. Okay, you can come with me. Are you getting the rest of your stuff too? Like your toothbrush? I don't know where my mom's put it all. No, just this. You can understand that. He didn't really need anything right now, and could always pick his things tomorrow. Pick up his things tomorrow. Go visited your house during the day all the time. You grabbed the flashlight and waited by the door. Soon, Cove joined you. The two of you crept out into the hallway as silently as you could. You sidestepped the loose floorboard at the end of the hall, alerting Cove to it as well. Apart from that, you had no problems making it to the front door. Everyone was in their rooms, so the rest of the house was abandoned. It was brighter outside. Here, some of your other neighbors had lights coming through their windows. Still, you felt better with your flashlight turned on. You pointed it in the direction you were walking. There was no sound apart from the chirping of crickets and the crunch of some loose sand that got all the way up the street from the beach. After a while, it was almost soothing. You thought back to your unlocked front door and hoped one of your moms didn't wake up. If they locked it or checked in on you, or both, you'd be in a lot of trouble. Surprisingly, it was Cove who broke the deep silence. This was my first sleepover. Really? I've had sleepovers before. Sometimes I'll go to my grandma and grandpa's house. Shiloh slept over a few times too, and other stuff. Cove remained quiet. The silence stretched between you, but it didn't feel awkward right now. You didn't feel the need to break it immediately. How was it? Or is it? It's not bad. I like reading your book. You did? I kind of thought you weren't having fun. You didn't really say anything when we were eating. I didn't know what to say. Oh. Now you were the one who didn't know what to say, so you said nothing. You just lit the path ahead. The two of you kept walking side by side, your shadows stretching across the concrete. In almost no time at all, you arrived. Cove's house loomed above you. The windows dark. Mr. Holden must be sleeping, just like everyone else in your own family. Are you sure your dad's gonna open the door? Yeah, he wakes up real easily. As if to demonstrate, he rang the doorbell. A couple of minutes passed, and you wondered if Cove was wrong. Then the front door unlocked and cracked open. Out came his dad. Mr. Holden wasn't wearing all his clothes. His hair wasn't up in a ponytail like normal either. You felt a little bad to disturb him when he definitely had not been expecting anybody. His eyes had been narrowed into tired slits, yet they opened wide when he saw you and Cove. Kids? What in the world are you doing? Everything okay? I couldn't sleep. Cove said in my room is weird. Mr. Holden blinked, his features still twisted in panic. Then he closed his eyes and let out a deep breath. Right. Well, that is a shame. What's done is done. Come on inside, son. We could talk about what happened in the morning. Okay. Cove yawned while accepting the terms without complaint. Thank you for dropping him off, Ace. I think you'll have to be a part of the conversation tomorrow, but we'll deal with what to do next time. Now, let me walk you back. It's not safe for you to be out this late by yourself. He moved to step past you, but you shook your head. I'll be fine, Mr. Holden. My house is right here, and I have a flashlight. Mr. Holden remained where he was, his brow furrowed, and he placed a hand on Cove's shoulder blade. Then I'll stand right here. Cove and I will be your lookouts. We'll close our door once you've made it back inside. You nodded your head at the compromise. Have a good night. Take care. Mr. Holden waved you off. As you turned, your eyes met Cove's, still standing beside his dad. His lips turned up at the corners. He spoke in an almost whisper.
Bye.
Thanks for coming. Flashlight clutched in your hand, you jogged back over to your home. You did feel better knowing Cove and his dad were watching to make sure nothing happened. Once you got to your front door, you glanced over to see the two waiting. You waved. Faintly, you saw Cove wave back. You quietly closed the door behind you, smiling to yourself. Then you tiptoed into your room. The flashlight was returned to your drawer in its rightful place. Although Cove had to go back home in the end, you still considered the sleepover to be quite a success. You did hope that next time he'd be able to stay the whole night, whenever next time came along. The next morning, you were woken by the sound of Mom's voice and a soft shake on your shoulder. Ace, wake up. It's time to get up and at 'em. I don't know why I struggled with that. The sun was peeking through your curtains, and you rubbed at your eyes as they adjusted to the new light. Cove's already out of bed. You blinked at her for a moment, confused, until you caught the empty sleeping bag on the ground and remembered what had happened during the night. But I didn't see him out there. I wonder where he's gotten off to so early. You hesitated, giving Mom a look with your mouth hanging half open as your mind processed what to tell her.
Everything okay?
Cove couldn't sleep. He said my room was weird.
What?
Where's Cove now? Did he sleep on the couch? Mom was still looking at you expectantly, but as you started to explain what had happened, you were interrupted by Mommy calling from downstairs, saying Mr. Holden was at the door. You could tell by the way that Mom's forehead crinkled that she was even more concerned. Once she turned to head downstairs, you pulled back the covers and jumped out of bed to follow her. Cliff, how are you? Mom joined Mommy at the door, while you hovered at the bottom of the stairs and peeked around the corner. You saw Cove's dad standing just outside, a sheepish smile on his face. He was alone, and you wondered if Cove was alright. I don't want to alarm you both, but Cove showed up back home in the middle of the night, and he wasn't alone. He rubbed the back of his neck anxiously. He must have felt bad about sharing the news. Mr. Holden kind of reminded you of Cove in that moment. Your moms exchanged a matching pair of surprised looks, Mommy gasping and covering her mouth with a hand. The two of them looked your way. You quickly ducked back behind the wall. The boy and I made sure Hayes got back safe, but Cove wouldn't tell me what happened. I thought you might have a little more insight. We didn't hear a thing during the night. I noticed Cove was gone just a minute before you arrived. Is he alright? We're so sorry. We'll be having a talk with Ace about this for sure. Mr. Holden pulled his lips into a tight smile and held up his hand as if to say it wasn't their fault. He's fine. I just wanted to find out more before having another talk with him. I should have known he wasn't ready to spend the night at someone else's house. You felt bad for Mr. Holden. He looked so sad. They discussed the event for a little bit longer, your parents promising to call him if they found out more, and when Mr. Holden finally said goodbye, you heard Mom calling your name. Immediately, you panicked, wondering if you should find somewhere to hide. There was a growing sense of dread in your stomach that you were about to get into a lot of trouble. Your moms found you eventually, though you were relieved to see they didn't look very angry. They did, however, look very, very worried.
That's ridiculous.
Whoopsie. What were you thinking, Ace? Why didn't you tell us something was wrong? Why did you leave the house? You toed the ground in front of you, refusing to look at them. Well, you see, I'm sure you were just trying to help him, but you know it's dangerous to go outside at night without a parent, don't you? Nodding your head, you couldn't do much more than listen as your parents explained how dangerous it had been for you and Cove to wander over to his house on your own. Personally, you didn't think it was that bad, since Cove only lived across the road, but you didn't tell your moms that. You were already in enough trouble as it was, so when they asked you to promise to tell them something like that next time, you nodded your head in agreement. Even though it was a little unfair, you accepted the punishment that you weren't allowed to have any sleepovers until you could prove to your moms that you were responsible enough. You were determined to show them that you could be trusted. When you saw Cove next, he was sorry you had gotten into trouble. After hearing a similar lecture, Cove got away with a warning from his dad. Mr. Holden felt the negative experience was enough already, and Cove didn't need additional punishments. In the end, the two of you and your parents were eventually able to move past the ill-fated sleepover. It had all been a learning experience, according to the adults. You could accept that. There were definitely things you learned from it. And hopefully, one day, you and Cove would finally be able to have a successful sleepover. We're actually making it to the end of step 1? Plot twist! Who would have thought? Incredible. Amazing. Success. Hold on. Yeah. Let's do the thing. Let's do the thing. Yeah. And then summer ended. Moving on to the next step. Yes, we are. I'll never get tired of that view. You stood beside your moms, Lizzie and Cove, as the 5 of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Yes! Neither did I. Oh no, we're so dull. Let's get out more. He didn't do real magic, Mom. How did you figure that one out?
Duh.
'Cause I know, that's not what real magic looks like. Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. You looked over at Cove, who hadn't said a word since you started home. He didn't look upset, though, just content. You're aware he still hadn't quite warmed up to your parents. Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Oh, whoopsie. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan. Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. Please, can we play just a little longer? We have to keep playing before it's too late. It is almost over. You put on your best puppy dog eyes. Lizzie may not want to, but you planned on going home. Please, can we play a little longer? Mom looked down at you with a sigh, and you clasped your hands together to give your plea some extra appeal. We'll help with dinner tomorrow. You immediately nodded in agreement with the very clever offer, shifting closer to Lizzie since your parents can't possibly resist the power of you two combined.
Please.
Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stumped her foot on the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument. Well...
No.
Oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug, and you knew you were very close to victory.
Okay.
Yes! But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside, understood? The end of summer is always sad. Very true. Days before school started, I would get really upset. Like, the week before summer ended, and school year started, I could never enjoy that week all that much. Because it would just be the impending how much time you have left kind of thing. And it'd be the type of thing where it would be the type of thing where you're supposed to sleep early again the night before school. And then, and then waking up would be easier, but I wouldn't be able to do that because my thought process was, if I fall asleep earlier, I'm gonna wake up. Time's gonna speed by, and I'm gonna wake up, and it's already gonna be time to go to school. So I wouldn't want to fall asleep. Yeah. Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Cove dear, you're welcome to join us as well. You sent him a small smile, which he returned. Cove gave a non-committal shrug to your mommy, which you took as an agreement. Ah, so much to do, so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet at times and trinkets. Ooh, or maybe the playground. Or the fireflies would be coming out, right? Don't I get a say in this? You suddenly made your own plans. We can't go too far. I'm going home. Suddenly made your own plans. Lizzie had her own ideas of what she wanted to do, but what were you going to do? You glanced over the cove, considering. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself.
Rude.
Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the direction your mothers had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots to plan if I want to make the most of tomorrow. You thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long she was disappearing off down the road. Are you going home too, Ace? Cove was leaning towards the beach, and you could tell that he wanted to stay out a bit longer. You saved the Cove. Cove gave you a smile that you couldn't help but return.
Cool.
He made a little gesture that you interpreted as follow me, and then started heading to the waves. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back, then tossed it out into the water. You were impressed over how far he got it to go. It sailed way out into the sea. It was a good toss. That was pretty neat. It wasn't a long throw, but he didn't care to try for that. The rock sunk kind of like a rock and fell back down almost right after he tossed. Yeah. What are you doing? Nothing. Oh. You tilted your head, wondering over the sudden pensive look on his face. Just thinking. About what? Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface, even though you were pretty sure he couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed, and there was a frown on his face.
It's not fair.
I've had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. When do you get it off? Cove shrugged and didn't say anything. For a second, you thought maybe he didn't know, but finally he sighed. A few weeks. That's not very long at all. That is a while away. You didn't think a few weeks was that bad. That is a while away. Sympathize. You thought for something else to say, something positive, but words wouldn't come, as was usual for you. Cove let out a huff, plopping down into the sand. Can't believe summer's almost over. You sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of how sudden the sudden topic change. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie, and my dad said something about that. That's great. We could sit together during lunch. You'd only ever been to the one school, but you were sure that his old school couldn't have been that much better. Then again, he did have to make new friends and meet new teachers. It could be kind of scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees and drew them to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were wet.
I want to go home.
The sudden sadness caught you off guard. You were so excited that Cove would be going to your school and made you feel bad that he was so upset about it. Well, I can walk back with you. Cove shook his head at the offer. No, I want to go back home. Right. Cove wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting someplace far from here. The one he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he had moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. He settled back down into the sand, trying to consider what to do. Do you hate it here? This could be your home. It'll be right. Sure. Just sure. Cove's brow furrowed even more. Then he shook his head. You felt a rush of relief fill you. You liked having Cove here. It would be sad if he'd been miserable the whole time. You're not gonna leave, right? You'll still be around? The question was a little surprising. Of course. Your parents would have mentioned if you were going to move or something, right? After a second, Cove gave a little nod. Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming. You were fine with him changing the subject again. Okay. You had to say swimming did sound fun, even if it was already getting chilly out. Cove smiled, then looked back to the waves. My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually, that I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything. He spread a glance over at Cove and saw the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe that would be okay after all, as long as I really do feel better. I can't see it. You could remember a long time ago when you'd first started going to school. You had absolutely not been okay with the idea of being away from your parents for most of the day, to listen to strangers tell you what to do and sit with kids you've never met before. Things changing is hard. You hold his hand. I'll make sure you do. Quietly considers options and quietly picks. I know this is not great commentary. Shut up. I'm going through the motions. You're not quite sure what to say to that, so instead you reached down and take hold of Cove's hand. The one closest to you is the one with the cast, so you made sure you were very gentle. As you watched, Cove's eyes got a little misty once more. You got the feeling that they were different tears from the ones from before, though. I hope next summer I'll surf and go exploring and everything will feel like it's supposed to again. You gave a little nod, resting your head on your own knees. The two of you sat quietly, just taking in the sound of the waves. You hoped that Cove would be able to accept this place as his new home. You'd definitely try to help in what ways you could. There were so many wonderful things here Cove probably hadn't even seen yet. Lost in thought, you started a bit when you heard a faint, familiar sound. The sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. You were reluctant to move, having enjoyed sitting together, but you were hungry. You stood and dusted the sand off yourself. My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance, yet ultimately. Okay. When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own.
Ace.
Ah! The way this makes me smile so much is not even normal. Thanks. It was nice, where you were right then. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. So the both of you ran off towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. In between! It's time to change this up! Yay! Okay. I'm thinking at myself on 13. Hold on. Hold. Okay. Let's think about this. I still had my hair long. I still had my hair long at this point. But I should have picked a fringe for the first one because I did have a fringe at some point. I don't know if I was when I was 8, but I did have a fringe at some point. Me trying to make this as realistic of an experience as possible. But at this point, I'm pretty sure I already had it straightened. Or at least mostly straightened. So, it would have been less wavy. I'm pretty sure. I may be totally wrong about this. That moment when you can't even remember your own existence. Am I okay? The side part 1, parted triangle, parted 2. Parted 2 is fine. Blunt, no. Bun, no. Twist, could be. Or, no. Round, no. Sleek, no. Strands, no. Ponytail, no. Buns, scrappy. Locks, strands, medium, scrappy, curled, buns, pigtails, ponytail. Ponytail might actually be kind of accurate, to be fair. Flowy, short, medium. Yeah. Ponytail would be probably accurate. Glasses-wise, at this point, they were this shape anyway, But I had colorful glasses, but I don't think that's an option. But I had red glasses and purple glasses at some point. They were like transparent-ish, and I used to love them. I wanted colorful glasses at some point, and I was like, I want those. And I had a pair of red ones, and I had a pair of like deep purple ones, and they were great. Okay, that's cool. All of this is fine. Birthmark freckles, you know. I'm back. Hello, child. Lips thin. Earrings, yes. At this point, yes, I would wear earrings. Probably hoops. I had red and purpley glasses too! Yeah! Yeah. What do the half oval ones look like? Half oval ones just slightly higher. I'm okay with that, yeah. Clothing type, accessory types. At this point I already wore watches. I think I wore a watch at this point already. I've never had braces. I was supposed to get braces at some point, but my baby teeth were very slow to fall out. So I didn't actually end up getting, like, having to put braces in the end. So. Scars, yeah. Everything else. Pretty much. And I think that would be pretty much okay. I think that would be about right. Success! I think we're keeping it as Nervous Crush, because I'm so far enjoying that. So I think we're keeping it at that. And maybe later we'll try, and maybe in the next step we'll try direct. Like, have a complete change of heart and go with direct love, because we haven't done direct either. I think the entire first playthrough we did it with relaxed. So Nervous is really fun, exactly. So I think we're keeping it a Nervous Crush for the time being. I think I'm okay with that. You won't be able to change out to step 3, no problem. Go ahead. Whoa! Yes. Personality, we don't change. Because no. But I just want to quickly check this. But I'm pretty sure I won't change much. I forget the hairstyles in step 2, though. I like hair 1 better. Absolutely. I think I'll take shirt 1. With pants 2A. And what are the options? Not like these. And I think everything else here is fine. I'm okay with it. Yeah. Yep. And well, I don't really care. Let's just go with these. Why not? Done. Success! August ended, September began, it was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. Ace, your Cove has the same glasses as Cove at my wedding. Okay. Good to know. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. You weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign that Cove would be staying in Sunset Bird for a while. At school, he was alright, but kept his distance from the other kids, from what you saw anyway. Whenever he could, Cove stuck to you like glue. He didn't even mind that much what you did to pass the time, as long as it was together. And that was just fine. You felt for him the same way you always had. Nothing changed. Except as you got older and you were able to understand better exactly what those feelings had and still meant. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. At first, you worried that meant bad news. It made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found out it meant Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons, you thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He said he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Bird more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. He seemed very confident that it was an effective strategy. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. You couldn't understand what had changed. But you hoped that you could help him feel better still, since even without the tears, he looked sad. Maybe one day he could say out loud what he felt inside. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed, and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore. You were 13 years old. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes, too. Cove's cast got taken off. It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked across his forearm. Cove's chest puffed out in pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew him for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did in gym and other athletic situations. Over the years, he began opening up more, too. You saw him talking amicably with other kids or neighbors from time to time. And the only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back south because of her work, just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. It had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Shiloh anymore. It was a long time ago. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad the further away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. That was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remembered calling her Mommy as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You were much too old for the word. I'm gonna sneeze, I think. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname too. She insisted on everyone calling her Elizabeth, so you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. There we go. Finally! You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. I think that's pretty accurate, yeah. You started befriending new people yourself, like Derek Suarez. He didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop in the area now and then. It seemed Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work, if Derek had the time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed, in small and big ways. You had too. As time went by, though, it was easier to settle into this new normal. Then, before you knew it, school was over, and summer vacation had come again. Room! It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was as hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. To be more specific, you were snuggled up in bed, celebrating your time off by sleeping in, wide awake, about to head out to enjoy your time off. First one's probably more accurate. Even though I probably wouldn't be sleeping, I would just be lying around. It was hot, but you still had the blanket up over your head to block out the sun. You didn't want it intruding on your lazy morning. Unfortunately, you hadn't prepared for an intrusion. From beneath the blanket, you heard the door creak open. You're still sleeping? Wow. Get up. Go away. You pretended to still be asleep. You got up. You started to fake snore loudly. Yes. You didn't get out of bed and instead made some obnoxiously loud and totally phony sleeping sounds. It was pretty annoying, but she had bothered you first. Ugh, not funny. Get up now. I will come over there. So much for a lazy morning. Mom told me to tell you that your baby boyfriend is here and wants to see you again, like he does every day. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him, say thanks or whatever. You did not like the way she called him your baby boyfriend, but you knew by now that saying so wouldn't stop her.
Come on.
So calm down already. Be right there. Okay, fine. Really? That's great. I'm coming. I'll be there when I'm there. Be right there. Elizabeth said nothing else and left, having done what was instructed of her. You rolled out of bed, stretching your arms up high and yawning. Time to get ready. You sat yourself in front of the mirror in the far corner of your room. Your reflection hardly even fit the frame. You're very tall. Imagine being tall. Your reflection went over the whole length of the mirror. You're pretty tall. Imagine being tall. Your reflection fit comfortably in the frame. Your average height. There was a lot of open real estate in the frame. You're pretty short. You had trouble getting your reflection to appear in the mounted mirror frame. You're very short. I don't think I'm very short, but I'm pretty short. Imagine being tall. You could relate to Derek and how it felt to be smaller than people thought you ought to be. Your shortness seemed even more drastic when compared to Cove, who was unusually tall. You liked your height, you weren't sure how to feel about it, you were kind of self-conscious about it. Sure, it's fine. It's not that I like my height. Sometimes I definitely wish I was taller, but I don't hate it. I mean, it's fine. I barely think about it. I joke about it, but I don't think about it in a negative way, often. So... Things kept changing, but the height you actually had and what the impression of that height was based on your age, it was confusing. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation. Careless as they had been, Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You planned on going over to see what Cove was up to today, so this worked in your favor. It was when you spotted your reflection that you realized you were smiling wide. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left your room, resting a hand on the railing as you went down the stairs. Step 2, second chance. Bow, bow. You spotted Mom first, reclining on the couch. She held a magazine in her hands, which she was perusing through. Morning, Mom. She looked up at your greeting, a smile instantly appearing on her face.
Thanks.
Good morning, Ace. Thank you for coming down. Ma's at the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go and thank him before he leaves? You nodded and made your way to the front of the house. Just as she said, Ma was there making conversation. She must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder.
Oh?
Look who finally made it. Morning, sleepyhead. Ma reached forward and you knew she was about to pat you on the head. She was taller than average for an adult woman, so at your height you were absolutely tiny in her eyes. Can't relate. Like, if you put a bunch of my family members together, we do like a straight line on the height wise. Most of my family's not very tall. Except my dad's tall. You let her do it, you happen to let her do it, you tilted your body aside to dodge, you push your hand back and laughed, you push your hand back and groaned. You let her do it. You stood by patiently and indulged your mom's wishes. She gave you 2 small taps on the crown of your head. You're the last one down today, you know that? Life isn't a race. Morning. I wasn't going to stay in longer, so you're welcome. Sorry about the wait. What did we get? Life isn't a race.
Funny.
I don't think that excuse will work if you're late for anyone other than your own mother, though. True, but when I don't have the responsibility right now, it's summer, Ma! With a small laugh, Ma stepped aside. Cove was just as you remembered, exactly how you came to know him to be. Crying. He leaned uncomfortably on the side of the doorway as the longer strands of his hair idly drifted with the breeze. His features were pinched in embarrassment as he shifted from one foot to another. He was holding what must be the much talked about gift. At first glance, you figured it must be a bouquet of flowers, then you gave it a real look. No, instead it was carefully cut fruit. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You had to suppress a laugh at this showing. You couldn't imagine many folks buying that sort of thing for their own personal enjoyment. That kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. It seemed no matter how long he lived here, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove would always be roped into participating. Ad time! It's time for some ad! It's time to get that coin! It's time to get some coin! Thank you, by the way, Queen. Let's continue. Cove sighed in relief at the sight of you. He must have been braving some embarrassment to get this far, and that had clearly been what he was waiting for. Hayes. He broke eye contact then, staring down at the ground instead. Your heartbeat sped up, being near him. You smiled back fondly. He always had this kind of effect on you. You couldn't help think. Ever since the two of you were kids. There was something about him that was just special in some strange and indescribable way. Hey, it's nice to see you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice seeing you too, now that it's nice for you to see me. The both of you had a bit of a laugh, though your gazes still didn't meet again. It was already shaping up to be another long summer. The best part was that the two of you had plenty of time to enjoy each other's company and relish what you had together. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back in, so Cove nudged the gift closer to you. He was ready to be relieved of it. Your hands brushed over his just slightly when you took hold of the base. He flinched enough for you to know with certainty that he noticed it happen. You worried you might have reacted in a similar way without realizing. And with that, the gift was accepted. I don't know how to read. I hope you and your family like this. It's a pretty good gift. I think so, anyway. He smiled earnestly. Dad spent a lot of time picking out the best size and design. There were so many options to choose from. You could just go straight for the... You could just go for it. But it's nice to say thank you. It's polite to say thank you. So we're gonna say thank you. We'll have more chances. To you and Mr. Holden. I'll tell him you said that. Mr. Holden's behavior really was different from any neighbor you've ever had. Though after 5 years, you were used to his antics, and you'd since made up your mind on what your opinion was. He was nice, he was sort of funny, he was pretty weird, you didn't like him, he was great, and kinda handsome to boot. He's nice. You knew he wasn't completely perfect, but he always seemed to try so hard for the sake of others. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are! You shared a confused look with Cove. As one, both of you stepped through the open door onto the neighborhood street. Yeah. It didn't take long to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek just a few yards down the road. He ran up to you. You were happy at the sight of him. You were confused at the sight of him. You were displeased at the sight of him. Copy, why not? Derek was certainly a welcome guest in your neighborhood. It was a pleasant surprise whenever he showed up. Derek! After stopping a couple steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. Then he looked up with a wide grin.
Hey.
Hey, guy and pal. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there. Should have figured you'd be at Ace's place. Do you ever spend time in your own home, or are you always just there? Derek laughed at his own joke. He either didn't notice that it embarrassed Cove, or the embarrassment was what he was actually laughing at. Derek turned to you. He was gonna say more when his eyes widened and he gasped. What's that? You followed his gaze, unsure. Then you realized what he meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. This is kind of like a bouquet of flowers, but made out of fruit.
Nice.
Can I have some? Sure, we could share. I haven't even tried it yet. It's a gift, for my family. I can't give it to you. Maybe you could have some later. I want to say yes, but at the same time, struggle. Let's just middle ground. I haven't even tried it yet. Derek pounded out your words, not hiding his disappointment. Aw. Then he nodded his head as if to clear it. Anyway, that's right. I came here because I needed to say something big. He paused, possibly for effect. Of course, the drama. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Cove was as surprised as you were by the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they were cutting through. Nuh-uh, the new kid was all by himself, just walking.
Nope.
I came to report the sighting right away. The kid had green hair, glasses, was pretty small, and seemed really upset about something. I hope he didn't leave. You blinked. Slowly you looked over to your longtime neighbor. That sounds a lot like you, Cove, when you first got here anyway. Oh, it's Jeremy time, isn't it? It kind of does, doesn't it? That's weird. He sounded almost fond, a small smile playing on his lips. Derek snickered good naturally. I can see that really well now that you say so. But what do you say? Let's go find Cove's lookalike. We should all meet him.
Sure.
I'll do it. Sure, I want to see who this person is. Derek grinned, then he pointed down the street the way he came. Last I saw him, the mystery visitor was going this direction. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you were off, with Derek leading the way. Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio, you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of the sun. He scuffled around, kicking up the sand as he paced. It was true, he certainly seemed upset, but you didn't think he was sad like you had originally pictured. No, with his erratic movements and scrunched-up expression, he came off angry. You became uncomfortable at the idea of talking to this stranger now. You didn't want to bother him if he was in such a bad mood. Derek didn't feel the same. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy. Hey guy, over here! The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl carving deeper into his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong hostile energy still radiated from him.
What?
What is it? What do you want? The sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. What's your name? Jeremy. Was that it?
No.
I'm Derek. That's Ace and Cove. We were just walking around and saw you. We wanted to say hi. There aren't a lot of kids our age in the neighborhood. Yeah, so it's cool to see someone else here. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by your response. If steam could erupt from a person's ears, it would have happened then. They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course, I knew it. What?
My parents.
They're the ones who brought me. I didn't walk to this town. Can you not figure that out on your own?
Right.
My dad brings me to Sunset Bird too, when he has to come for work and all that stuff. It's not bad. That earned him a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced beneath it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation probably either. That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time, a chore. My parents' family is nearby and we just had to come see them. Ugh. If they're your parents' family, doesn't that make them your family too?
I guess.
Damn, okay. That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else? No. Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff. He turned away. They should have gone by themselves since they care so much and left me home, but I'm not allowed to be by myself. It makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything, and I'm the kid? You kept quiet. You shouldn't talk about your parents like that. Sorry, it must suck being forced to do something you don't want. We just said hello. You don't have to keep complaining at us. Calm down. You don't have to yell so much. Who peed in your cereal this morning? Anna, sorry, it must suck being forced to do something you don't want. I know he's not going to react well to it, but... as if that does anything. You turned to Cove, lowering your voice. The two of you aren't similar after all. Jeremy must have had a good hearing, though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed.
Stupid.
Ugh, of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid. You take that back. Cove's cheek flushed crimson at the insult. You couldn't be sure if it was out of embarrassment or anger. Maybe both. Come on. What? No, Cove's wavy eyebrows are so cool. How can you say that when you've got a bowl cut? Don't listen to him. They're unique and special. Well, they are kind of silly. Apologize to Cove right now. You can't treat people like that. Yeah, fighting with him doesn't do any good, even though it would be funny to say this. I'm just gonna, yeah. Go smile weakly. Special because of how ridiculous they look, maybe. You just roll your eyes, you crossed your arms over your chest, you shook your head, you patted Cove on the shoulder, you launched towards Jeremy, you grinned at all of this. Last time we did try you launched towards Jeremy, and it was funny. For a bit. I'm debating whether we should do it again or not. We're not living in fear, Yalla! Welcome to Who Cares? I would never do this in real life. With your fist balled, you made a quick step forward. He was the one who started things, but you were gonna end them. The drama. But you only wanted to spook him. I'm actually curious about that, but you also only wanted to spook him one. Let's do that. Let's not be that mean. Just wait until you have the wedding DLC. You're gonna be up for a surprise. Oh, okay. He made it clear that words wouldn't work, leaving you to resort to action, even if it was just for show. Derek and Code jumped in to stop you before you reached them. They grabbed you by the arm. Still, Jeremy instinctively stumbled backwards. He practically fell over. If that's all you can do about what I'm saying, I'm just proving I'm right. You're brainless. Jeremy continued to defensively fume and throw out insults. The reaction you got was definitely worth any consequences. Wow, what is wrong with you? Instead of taking offense, Jeremy only provided Derek's words in a nasally voice.
Wow, what is wrong with you?
Wow. This is dumb. Jeremy stuck out his tongue and skulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go, hunched over until he became a speck in your vision. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what just happened. I can't believe it. What a mean kid. Derek wasn't kidding, and by the sound of those earlier complaints, the new boy Jeremy was going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. Derek sighed in dismay, plopping onto the ground. You followed, and Cove did too shortly after. There wasn't much else to do.
This sucks.
I was hoping we could meet someone fun, hang out maybe. He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you with a hopeful expression. But, you know what would really improve the day? What? He didn't respond. Instead, he used a hand to point, right at the fruit arrangement that you were still holding. You'd completely forgotten about it during the mini-drama that unfolded. You had gotten used to the wait. You're telling me that I was going to fight this kid with the fruit flower arrangement in my hand? Cool. Glancing over to Cove, you noticed he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. I need to save it. Why not? Let's see. Derek perked up immediately at your words. He reached out for his skewer, hesitating slightly once he was inches away.
Are you sure?
He nodded. With an eager grin, he plucked out a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after him. Only you were without a skewer of your own. You took a pineapple skewer, you took a grape skewer, you took a strawberry skewer, you took a melon skewer. Let's take A strawberry one. The strawberry was bright red and beckoning you. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate a pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments. This is amazing.
It's nice.
Tastes pretty nice, and this fruit kebab thing is fun. Hey, you two remember the land before time? That fruit thing makes me think of it. The dinosaurs are like the leaves that were shaped like stars. Tree stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, chomping leaves looked so delicious when they did it. And there was that scene with the pretty trees and all the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off them till there was nothing. That's us right now. Awesome. I love that movie. I've never seen it. I didn't like that one. That movie's for kids. Eating leaves looks so good. Should I worry about you? Do you think it tastes better when they're shaped like stars? I'm doing that. Eating leaves looks good? Should I worry about you? He snickered. No, I'm not gonna do it for real, but I did pretend I was a long neck when I ate broccoli one time. The three of you continued like this for the next few minutes. Eventually, the display was barren. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. Hey, we weren't supposed to eat all of it. It did help make you feel better. Eating it all hadn't really made you feel better. It did help me feel better. As a weapon, Ace, once you get one of those skewers into his eyes, you stab! Derek is right. It was so good you were already brightening up from the earlier drama. Hey, Ace? Yeah? The two of you met Ice casually. Were you seriously gonna hit that guy? No, I just knew he'd get all scared over it.
Phew.
That was pretty bad, Ace.
I mean...
I thought it was cool.
Ugh.
You're both crazy people. You knew when Derek said things like that, it wasn't serious. He liked you in Cove. Yeah. Derek then leaned back on his arms. He contemplated the sky with a content sigh. So, are you both ready for summer break? Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Are you? Cause someone's supposed to be ready for a break. Yeah. Yeah. Cool on you. Wish I could say the same. It feels like there's a lot to plan for.
Hmm?
And what about you, Cove? Are you ready? I think that depends. Before you could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered.
Hey!
Ace! You glanced over your shoulder to see your sister. She strode closer and closer, appearing none too pleased. I've been looking all over for you. Ma said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden brought for us. She leered over you with arms folded. So, where is it? It's gone. What do you mean, gone? You move over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which was now populated exclusively with skewers dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. I don't know why I'm coughing. Her mouth dropped open and the tone of her voice rose.
What?
Seriously, Ace? What were you thinking? It was supposed to be for all of us at home. She glanced at Cove, who sat beside you, and continued mockingly. Even if you are the most important person in the household to the delivery boy, this was up to his dad. It seemed everybody was in the mood to tease you and Cove today. Cove's cheeks became a couple shades redder, but he didn't deny the accusation. He couldn't. Everyone knew the two of you gave each other special priority. Sorry, Elizabeth. Get over it. Well, the morning's kind of been a disaster. We were hungry? It wasn't us. A seagull came down and ate it while we weren't looking. Oh no! The pain. Sorry, Elizabeth. Elizabeth narrowed her eyes, not at all placated. Oh no! I think I hear the mean kid coming back. We better get out of here. Elizabeth blinked, confused, and looked around.
What?
What kid? I don't see anyone. Derek didn't bother explaining. He just launched to his feet and ran off. Cove hooked up too, gladly taking the opportunity to exit the situation. He followed after Derek, but he sent a look to you from over his shoulder. He turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared back, brow raised. You ran, you stayed. Run away! Without a word, you two got to your feet and bolted down the beach. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes.
So immature.
Indeed. She shook her head as she walked towards the house, not bothering whatsoever to follow. Meanwhile, the three of you made it back to the shoreline. Derek pumped his fist, grinning in triumph. We escaped and shall live to see another day. Exactly, but we should keep moving. Yeah, for now at least. Victory! My moms are gonna be so mad when Elizabeth tells this story. Victory! Okay. I was worried that I was getting network issues and I was about to start crying. I was gonna actually sob, okay? You threw your arms up in celebration. You chuckled together, walking further down the beach, side by side. You definitely wanted to stay outside a little while longer. You had gotten a little bit of scolding from your moms for not saving any of Mr. Holden's gift for Elizabeth, but you didn't get any real punishment for it. Instead, while you were out with the boys, Elizabeth returned home to share the news. The three of them went to get dessert on their own. It was declared even by your parents when everyone got back and the event was settled. That was a while ago now. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. Phone. Your fingers drummed on the surface as you waited, your gaze trained on the phone. You were waiting on a call tonight, specifically from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. We love Lee. Lee's awesome. A while back, though, they'd moved and were closer to you than ever before. You now hung out regularly. With school being out, you're positive she's going to want to come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Elizabeth, too. But now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to be just you and Lee who spent time together. She was your only friend who was a girl. Being family helped make you close, but you had a lot of girlfriends. I have friends that are girls. Even though you weren't a girl, you befriended them pretty well. I also have non-girl friends. It seemed that was just the type of person you associated with most of school. My friend group is buried. Then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Lee, finally. Who is it? Exil's Residency speaking. Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Hey, it's Lee. I'm glad it's you. For a second there, I thought it might be one of Elizabeth's friends. There was static on the end as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. So, can you believe school's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now we don't have to do anything of that boring stuff, and we get to hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out, Lee, can you wait a second? Let me just head to my room.
Oh, yeah.
You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Your mom had a rule about not moving the phone unless a call was in progress, which was why you had been sat by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. Your mom's could be really unfair. You thought that makes sense. You didn't like it, but it had to be that way. I don't like it, but I get it. So, yeah. You weren't the only person here. If anyone could take the phone anywhere at any time, it'd be an even bigger hassle. You could easily imagine the receiver having a new forever home in Elizabeth's locked room. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You made your way up the stairs smiling. After you had arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you. You took a seat on your bed. Alright, I'm here.
Cool.
Hey, did you know the girl down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone. She doesn't have to wait for someone else to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you. Right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. I wish they changed their mind. We could call each other every single day and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? Really great. But wouldn't I still be using a home phone? Too bad that's so far away. Really great. We could even stay up late talking about whatever we want. Lee sighed thoughtfully into the receiver. At least they said I could have it someday. I can't wait. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not gonna get one until I'm all the way in college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and ear, you puffed up your pillows and made yourself more comfy. It was strange to think of a time when normal school would be over and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to a college. School is such a big part of your life right now. And then suddenly, it's like everything changes and no one prepares you for that moment where everything changes and everything feels really freaking weird. I'm not speaking from current experience, no! No one prepares you for the moment where you're no longer like going to school every year and suddenly there's so many choices. It comes out of nowhere. So it's such a big part of your life right now. Studying didn't come easily to you, though you tried hard. You worked about as hard as most people and got pretty average results as well. You never tried much, but you still didn't do bad. You didn't bother at all at school, and your grades reflected that. Everything in your classes came easily to you. You worked hard for your excellent grades. At 13, it was definitely this. Late at around 15, 16, it became this. And then 16, 17, it's still this with a, oh my god, I have no motivation left. Well, not no motivation, but nothing came easily to me anymore. Or at least that's what it felt like. But I'm just gonna go with this because it reflects situation better. So, this feels odd in 2022 where 6-year-olds walk around with iPhones. True. You knew it was important and you wanted to do well. Frustratingly, even your best didn't seem to quite ever be good enough. You didn't know how it could be harder. You felt a lot of pressure to get higher grades than you did last year. You hoped to do just as well this year, but it wouldn't be a big deal if they dropped some. You were confident your grades would remain great. You had no plans of getting excellent scores this time around. I'm confident that they would remain great. You could definitely turn things around from here on. Yeah. Your dad is still engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled.
What's up?
You sound so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. I'm looking forward to going back. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. It's so awful. I hate going. Come on, it's too scary not to think about it. Let's make a petition for more vacation time.
Yeah.
Everyone in class would sign it. Maybe some of the teachers, too. Though, I guess school isn't all that bad. You could do some good things there. You could just do more when school's out. Learning new things can be cool. Gym's pretty great, though. It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. The cafeteria lunches at my school could be better than they had any right to be. There's nothing good about my school. It's the easier way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. If I didn't go to school, I'd never meet anybody new. No one really comes here. Uh-huh. Learning new things can be pretty cool. Yeah. Sure. I just wish people did okay with how they thought things, not just some people.
Me too.
And that was all. And that was pretty much everything that's good about school. Okay, point taken.
Alright.
Now I decree the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about this summer first before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans ready. Like, I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head. I want to spend time with people. I've got some new art supplies, reading. I'm going to catch up on movies and TV. Probably I'll spend time at the beach. I don't want to do anything at all. It's vacation. Art supplies! Can't wait to try them out. I can't wait to see what you make. You lean back in your bed, settling in as you continue chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her and you'd be seeing her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day. You sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What's he like? Creepy, mean, weird, kind of interested, mean. He kept snapping when all we were trying to do was talk to him. He just kept being rude to everyone. But especially Cove. It was awful. I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Hey, who are you to talk? You give practically all your attention to boys. Or maybe just one boy. I see how much you lie, Cove. You got me. Yeah, that was a special case. I don't give him all my attention. You weren't able to say anything to that. That's a special case. Lee laughed at your defensiveness, deeply amused. You shut your eyes tightly, feeling embarrassed about her reaction. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face.
Come on.
How long are you gonna hug the phone? Glancing at your watch, you realized that your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lunged at her hip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. Gotta go, I'll see you soon, okay? With a sigh, you said your goodbyes to Lee. Sorry for being long, I'm still using it. No, get out of my room. Sorry for being long. Lee, I have to go now.
Bye.
Okay, see you soon. Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi too. You'd barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Your mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it. With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gone dark outside, and you laid in bed wide awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over at it with furrowed brows. From your vantage point, you saw only the moon and an open sky. You were? Scared, confused, annoyed, curious. Curious. What had caused that noise? Not because I know. Cocking your head, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You wanted to get to the bottom of this. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yep, Cove was right outside your window. And the tradition begins. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so it theoretically wouldn't have been hard to climb around on. Still, just because somebody could didn't mean you expected it to ever happen. To his credit, Cove was doing fine. His feet were braced against the section of the wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort to keep him upright. He easily lifted a hand and waved at you from the other side of the glass. You hurriedly opened the window. Cove climbed over the ledge, releasing a breath once he was safely inside.
Hey.
What are you doing? What's up, Romeo? This sure is a surprise, but you're always welcome here. Is everything okay? What happened? You're lucky I didn't start screaming. Amazing! My dreams have come true. Drama. Thanks. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say to that. I know that it's late, but I didn't know what else to do. If I rang the doorbell, I know your moms would have answered and they'd just make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyway. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, I mean... But that's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched. Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad, he was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Cove had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation? You shouldn't have done that. Eavesdropping is bad. I would have done that too. You didn't comment on him eavesdropping. Nope. There were other things to talk about. Are you going to stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened, varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out he was leaving and you missed seeing him those weeks, you understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me leave this year. He said she should come stay with us here. He waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation abruptly dropped off. You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. Did she say what she would do? She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon, before school starts. Oh. You had heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone and another to actually meet them. Very soon, you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you could only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing across your room, his features pained with dread. Before, they'd barely stay in the same room long enough to have lunch. Now we're going to be all together again. The three of us. After all this time? Just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out. I know I feel really bad for feeling this way.
Ace.
It's so... His fist tightened and his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already and I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. That is hard to deal with. We can deal with this. I'm sorry, Cove. You know I'm here for you. Yeah, that's a lot. You didn't know what to say. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. It is hard to deal with. The tense line of Cove's shoulders eased. Thanks. That makes me feel a little better. Like I'm not freaking out for no reason. A momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how the day started. You had woken up eager for summer vacation, but now things seemed so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the newest addition to the neighborhood being so rude, and as if all that wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated and hard and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Ace? The sound of your name, said quietly, pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you, concerned.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. You meant it. Yeah, I'm okay. You didn't mean it. No, I'm not. I don't know. Who, me? I'm more worried about you. Well, things are kind of bad for everyone, huh? Yeah. I'm okay. You knew some things were still good. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. Moonlight from outside cast shadows across his face and lit up his eyes. They seemed to sparkle with a smile. Just that one look brightened your mood somewhat. You know, I think I don't want to talk any more about this. He looked away, his lips thinning into a line, and rubbed at his arms. But I kind of don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer, just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him away? You can stay tonight, but we shouldn't make a habit of this. I've got a flashlight and some cards. Are you in? Of course. You can always stay here, Cove. Of course. You smiled shyly, your voice as tentative as his was, but you meant what you said. Cove perked up at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. You felt a little better at the sight somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was there. And not just tonight. You were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you'd never want to undo. It felt totally natural to let him into your little world. He fit into it like a missing piece of the puzzle, and you were certain there was room to get even closer. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. You smiled gently at him, you put a hand on his shoulder, you patted his back, you hugged him, you took his hand in yours, you nudged him with your foot. Hand holding! You stretched your short arm out and gently held his hand. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact helped even a little. Cove blinked, startled, before his expression softened into something more natural. Conversation was stilted and broken often by silence at first. Then both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped a day would never come when life decided that the two of you would have to part ways, and you knew Cove felt the same. You opened your tired eyes, groaning as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through your window and warming your olive skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearing the sleep from your eyes before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't remember even falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, and the two of you spent time together, trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger on exactly when. You wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day, or stay snuggled up for a little while longer. I'm back. Did I miss anything? Cove sneaking through the window for the first time, and yee. Until your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, and you bolted upright and gasped in surprise. He never left! He was still there! In the morning! You laughed aloud, you jumped out of bed, your muscles refused to move an inch, and your eyes widened as you stared at Cove's sleeping form in absolute shock. If your moms found out that he had slept here the entire night, you would both be in big trouble. Realizing quickly that you needed to get Cove out of here before your moms or Elizabeth walked in and found him, you willed your body to get a move on and swung your legs over the side of the bed. You whispered at his ear, you shook his shoulder, you poked him in the face, you tugged at his hair, you threw a pillow at him. Shake his shoulder. After giving him a firm shake of the shoulder, Cove's eyes flew open and he woke with a start. You scrambled out of the way as he abruptly jumped to his feet before almost losing his balance and falling back down. He recovered just as quickly as he faced you indignantly.
Hey!
What was that for? Shh! What? The situation dawned on him, too, before he even finished the word. Cole blinked at you a couple of times, his eyes growing in panic as some thought that only he could hear settled in his mind.
Oh my god!
I fell asleep! You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cole pace your room, looking around frantically. Cole's hands flew to his face, letting out a sigh of relief when he found his glasses right where they were supposed to be. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. It's gonna be alright. We're gonna be in so much trouble. Just calm down. Settle down before Mom hears you. You didn't say anything. It's gonna be alright. You just need to leave before anyone notices you're here. If they knew, we would have heard about it already. Cove nodded, his shoulders tense as he fixed you with a firm stare with his turquoise eyes. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair in exasperation. He couldn't look at you again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all this played out, but hoped that was true. Bye. At that, you were suddenly wrapped up in a tense embrace. As panicked as he was, this seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Thanks. Again. You're my very best friend, Ace. No one else comes close. He firmly whispered the words into the top of your shoulder. It made you feel tingly. It did make me feel tingly. Smiling so hard right now. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond, or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he had climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair and filling your room with its salty scent. Cove fearlessly stepped out onto the ledge. You wished him luck, you rallied him to keep going, you suggested he sneak out the door instead, you urged him to hurry up, you wished him luck. Good luck, and please be careful. You gulped, thinking how far the fall would be if he were to miss a single step. You weren't sure if he heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other with increasing speed until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out of the window as far as he could go to try keeping watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down to the top of the garage, then lowering himself onto the fence. From there, he finally dropped down to the ground. You grinned at the sight of his successful climb. He ran up towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit that you were pretty impressed at how doable he made that look. Cole always seemed to have a way of seeming so smooth without even meaning to. With a little sigh, you reclosed your window, deciding there was nothing more you could do. You hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. You put on your slippers, you checked yourself in the mirror, you made my bed. It was a habit of yours. You straightened up your sheets, smoothed over your comforter, fluffed your pillows before stepping back and admiring your work. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face into a look of innocence. Nothing happened! Absolutely nothing happened! We are all fine here. It was a perfectly normal night with no surprising events whatsoever. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had to play cool. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked you over immediately, her eyes squinting at the greeting.
Why?
Why are you being so weird? You hadn't done anything! Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. You stopped in your tracks, heart pounding in your chest as you wondered if she could see the sweat that was building around your temples. Ace? You shrugged it off, you climbed up, wouldn't you like to know? Sorry, you excitedly blurted it out, you folded. You shrugged it off. I'm not. You spoke so nonchalantly you almost thought she believed you. But you knew better. Further suspicious squinting occurred as she waited for something. But ultimately she rolled her eyes and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. Success. Whatever. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today, you were extra glad for it, though you were also grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you had gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from the breakfast they made, hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. You took a little bit of everything. You passed them some parts because they weren't things you liked. You passed them some parts because you were trying to avoid meat. You passed them some parts because you were trying to avoid animal products. Again, picky eater vibes. You appreciated that there was a variety in the meals your moms made. The parts you did have were tasty. The day lazily drifted by at home, and eventually your parents returned. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. I should do that right now, actually. It's not icy cold anymore, but one can pretend. I'm sweating. I hate hot water. I hate hot weather so much. It was perfectly balmy summer afternoon, and you had decided to head outdoors to find something to do. You hadn't decided what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. As you were heading out the front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he had left that morning, and you couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over to his house right now, or to call him to check in? You stepped out of your house, still stuck in an internal debate with yourself, when a voice caught your attention.
Hi.
Confused, you look over to where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you, a friendly smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory for where you had seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not your school, or from the country club your moms took you to. You had absolutely no idea who this woman was. The woman crossed the road towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back to the house and lock the door. Oops, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? You shook your head and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes. All of a sudden, she seemed a little more familiar. My son lives here, and my ex too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point to the condo across the street from your own house. She was Cove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't realized sooner, now that you'd gotten a good look at her. She seemed nice, she seemed sort of strange, she looked really young. It made sense she was Cove's mom. She felt so different to Cove, she was super pretty. She seemed nice. Her attitude was friendly, and it seemed like she was genuinely happy to meet you. No matter your thoughts on her, you still felt taken aback that she had appeared here so suddenly. Cove mentioned she was coming, but you hadn't gotten the impression it would be the very next day. She extended a hand again, this time for you to take, and you studied the manicured fingers in front of your face and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from her wrists. I'm Kira East. You can call me Kira. You shook her hand. 'Cause yes. You reached down and took her hand, and she shook yours firmly, grinning wide. You already know my name.
That I do.
Coast mentioned you to me before. It's nice to officially meet you. Ace. Cove talked to you about his mom. He hadn't mentioned how he said things about you to her. What has Cove said about me? What are you doing here? Nice to meet you too. You kept quiet. Nice to meet you too. She smiled at you fondly, her eyes crinkling at the corners. The sound of the door opening and closing caught both of your attentions, and when you turned towards the sound, it was to find Cove exiting his house, his eyes skimming the ground. Considering just how tall he had grown, you kind of figured his mom also would have been tall, but she was much more on the shorter side for an adult anyway. Cove's height must have come from his father. How about I just call you Bobby I mean...
My baby.
There you are. I thought you were going to keep me standing out here all day. You tried to catch Cove's eye as he walked towards you, but his gaze was firmly fixed on the sidewalk. When he finally crossed the road and looked up, he gave you a pitiful look. After the way he had acted last night, you knew he must be feeling pretty mixed up about this. You tried to wordlessly express that you understood. Cove and I are heading into town to grab something to eat while the snore is at work. Kira beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. You assumed the snore she was talking about was Mr. Holden. Hey, you should come with us, Ace. I'd love to get to know you better. Yeah, you should come. There was a pleading in his tone that you couldn't miss. Of course, we'll run it by your parents first. Responsibility and all that.
Any whoosies.
Any whoosies. It'll give me an excuse to meet them, which I need to do at some point. It's important to be neighborly if I'm going to be roosting on this street for the time being. Any whoosies, let's go. Kira walked ahead towards your house, and you hung back with Cove, who crinkled his nose as he watched her.
Sorry.
Sorry about her, but I really do want you to come. I don't want it to be just the two of us. Not right now. You leaned in closer and whispered while checking around for anyone who might hear. What happened? Did your dad know you were gone? Cove shook his head and sighed heavily. Dad was so focused on Mom showing up that he didn't even notice. I thought when I heard them on the phone last night that it was something they were planning for the future. This morning, Dad said it was supposed to be a surprise, and I guess I was surprised. She's gonna be here all summer. Oh, you were surprised to hear that too? Cove sighed again, even heavier. I'll go with you if you really want me to. He smiled, his shoulders relaxing a little in relief. Thanks, that'd be cool. We're gonna leave it here, I think. I know it's a bit of an awkward spot to leave it, but I think it's a bit as good as about a spot I can leave it at. So, we're gonna leave it here. We're started step 2. We'll get to start step 2 moments in the next time we do. That was such a weird way of putting it. On the next stream we do our life, which is exciting, cause finally I had to see the stuff I haven't seen. Yee! Okay, let me save and close the game so that everything runs a bit smoother again. Here we go. Quit. Yes. And everything should just go to the better now. Yeah, we love that. Anyway, that'll be the stream for today. I don't know what we're gonna do tomorrow. We might do Sims, or we might do something else. I'm thinking. Because there's stuff I want to do. Anyway. And then tomorrow, I'm gonna think about something. And then, depending on how much I think about it, I might have a proposal idea. I might have an idea, but I need to think about it first. I need to think about it first, and then I'll see if I'll actually say it though. So I'll think about that. I'll ponder a few things, and then if I do decide on anything, I'll talk about it tomorrow at the beginning of the stream. But otherwise, this just never happened, or I'll just keep thinking about it, or it'll happen eventually. Who knows? Anyway, I just need to ponder stuff first before I make any decisions. Always. But anyway, I have fun. I love playing Our Life. I love this game so freaking much. But that'll be the stream for today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a good night as well, and I hope you have a great day tomorrow until we talk here once again. Bye guys, and have a great evening. Sleep well and dream of all the accidental sleepovers with our favorite beach boy. Indeed. Let's find a good ending song. It's a good time because this one just ended. This was a bit too long. Let's go with... Let's do Hung Up Today. Why not? Yeah, okay. Anyway, have a great rest of your day. Have a good night as well. See you later, chat. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.